So hey anime fans, the series name is What If Naruto Went to the Code Geass universe. So let's start the series. Walking through the mall was a young man. The young man was wearing a gray, long-sleeved zip-neck sweater that was untucked. On top of the sweater he had a cyberpunk-themed trench coat. He had dark gray trousers and black boots. On the neck of his sweater he had a neck-warmer scarf tucked away, which could be pulled up to cover his face up to the bridge of his nose. On his head he had a light gray hat with the logo of a fox. His face was large hidden, but from what you could tell was that he had red hair and deep blue eyes. The young man walked through the mall as he conveyed on his phone, or so it seemed. This is all too easy, the young man whispered as he worked on his phone. The truth was that he was not working on his phone, but rather he was hacking through his phone, his target, a secure server belonging to the secret services stationed at the mall. Bypassing the entire secret, he quickly got inside the server and started to scan everything. Going through the list, he saw many questionable deeds that could get the government of the area into deep shit. However, as the list neared the end, he started to grit his teeth. Come on, the young man said, but soon the list came to an end and he tightened his fist. Another dead end. He put his open away into the many pockets of his coat and started to make his way towards the exit. But all of a sudden he started to notice that the exits were being closed down. Crap, I think they noticed something. The young man though. He started to look around and focused on an access port. He took out his phone and started to hack the port. Once again he bypassed the weak security and found what he wanted. Let's see how well you can see in the dark. The young man though, as he pressed the button, and all of a sudden the lights went out, and all the power to the mall was cut. People started to panic and the mall security tried to calm them down. Using the panic to his advantage, he slipped through the security and exited the mall. Once he exited the mall, he looked up to the night sky and sighed. This was his 6th lead for the week and all of them were dead ends. He entered his car and drove off. A few hours later, the young man neared a massive mansion and entered through the main gate. He parked his car and entered the mansion. The mansion, like stated before, was very massive, but it was so quiet. Can't believe that it's been 4 years and yet it's still so quiet. The young man though, as he walked into the kitchen to eat something. He sat there in silence as he ate some late-night pizza. He didn't even heat it up. There used to be so much life in this house, now it feels so dead. The young man though. He finished his pizza and started to make his way to his room, but he stopped to look at a large portrait of his family. The portrait contained a blond man with blue eyes who looked like he was in his late 20s and a woman with red hair and violet eyes, who also seemed to be in her late 20s. Right in front of them was a teenager with red hair with blue eyes and a 10-year-old blonde girl who also had blue eyes. The young man smiled. They all looked so happy, but then, it was all gone. He balled his hand into a fist. They took it all away from him, and in return he would not stop until he had his revenge. He then continued to walk to his room. He took off his trench coat and his hat and lay down on his bed and closed his eyes. The next day, the young man woke to as the sunlight pierced through the curtain and into his eyes. He yawned as he made his way to the kitchen to get some breakfast. As he ate his breakfast, he started to check up on his company that he inherited from his mother and father on his tablet. Everything looks all right, and the stock prices are an all-time high. The young man though, as he put down his tablet and got to change clothes. He had school to attend today, changing to his school uniform and grabbing his bag and walked out and entered his Koenigsegg CCXR Trevita. Even though the name of the brand was Swedish, it was not truly a Swedish company. He turned on his car and speeded towards his school. A few minutes later, he parked the car nearby and made his towards the school. As he entered school grounds, all the students started to murmur and talk about him. The young man sighed. They always do that, always whispering and talking about him like he wasn't there. He knew what they were all saying things about him. In fact, the young man knew who each student was, their hobbies, life, and occupations. It was all thanks to his hacking skills. He had more than enough dirt on anyone at his school. As he was about to enter his classroom, he was stopped by a young blonde female with dark blue eyes. Some might mistake her as his sister, but his sister. We have to talk, the girl said as she dragged him to the school's rooftop. They stood there for a while before the young man asked her, "What do you want, Millie?" the young man asked the now named Millie. She looked at him with concern. Was it you who caused the blackout last night at the mall? She asked him. The young man sighed as he closed his eyes. Yes, it was me, Millie, he answered. He was not surprised that she knew. After all, she was the only one who knew everything about him. You have to stop this, please, she told him with worry on her face. You know I can't do that, and besides it's none of your concern. The young man replied coldly. It is my concern, Naruto. Millie shouted out to the now named Naruto. Naruto looked at her with shock. She never had yelled at him for all the 7 years of his life he had known her for. Millie, please, I don't want to drag you into this. This is my path to walk, and if it means that I have to walk a bloody path, then so be it, Naruto said with a soft voice as he hugged her. But what if you die? You know that I can't handle you dying, Millie yelled in his chest. Naruto just hugged her tightly. Millie, I won't die and you know it. We have been friends for 7 years and you know that I am reckless, but I also cautious. I won't die, not before I found out who killed them, Naruto replied as he stroked her back. Millie knew what he was talking about, everyone knew. Naruto separated from the hug and started to walk back down. You better run, Millie, the bell's about to ring, he shouted out to her. Millie's eyes grew wide as dinner plates and she made a mad dash to her class while Naruto laughed at her panic. He made it to his classroom and sat in his assigned seat. The classes were boring like always and he was also lazy while in them every single time. Some of the more overzealous students, and sometimes teachers would call him out on that, and calling him a lazy 11. 11s, that is what they call the once proud people of Japan. 10 years ago the Holy Empire of Britannia invaded Japan all because Japan was applying political pressure on them to make them negotiate. But so were the Chinese and the EU. Japan just happened to be small and an easier target. Everything that made Japan well Japan was removed, and in turn they were given a number. Naruto hated Britannian, but he did not hate its people. Well, he hated a large majority of its people who were racist towards numbers. However, people like Millie he had no problems. Anyways, they would try to punish him or humiliate him, but it never worked, because Naruto was always at the top of the class. No, he was at the top of the school in terms of grade and rank. Naruto's family was rich, very rich, and even through being Japanese they were considered nobles and were respected by a few. However, unlike other nobles who spoiled their children, Naruto's parents never did that, always told him that hard work is the way to a good life. Some even tried to vandalize his property, but they soon found their bank accounts to be short of money. The wonders of technology and hacking. Naruto was always good at technology and was always messing with computers and phones. He was already a good hacker, but when his family died he threw himself into hacking and there wasn't a place that he couldn't hack. He was disturbed from his relaxation by a teenage girl. Looking up he spotted a girl with orange hair and yellowish-green eyes. Shirley Finette, daughter of Joseph Finette, for some reason your father's job and anything related to it is blacklisted. What sort of job does your father occupy? Naruto though as he turned his gaze towards the boy she was talking to. Lelouch Lamperouge, or should I say Lelouch 6 Britannia. You were exiled by your father to Japan along with your sister just months before the invasion. The Britannian government and people believe that both of you are dead. But honestly, they must be really stupid to not notice you. I mean, they do have all of your medical history, along with your sisters and the fact that you have the same first name as the dead Prince of Britannia. Naruto knew everything about everyone in this school, but if it was not what he was looking for then it was worthless to him. He could care less if one of Britannia's princess and prince were alive and living here. From what he could tell was that Shirley was condemning Lelouch's gambling hobby. Sighing, he decided to say something to shut them both up. Give it a rest, will you, Shirley? He's not going to listen to you anyways, Naruto said, earning both of their attention. Naruto! Don't encourage him, Shirley yelled back. However, just then the bell rang and Lelouch quickly ran out of the classroom. Don't worry, Shirley, I am sure that your darling Lelouch won't become an addict, Naruto replied with a smirk as he got up. Shirley could only blush at the comment. It was no secret that Shirley liked Lelouch very much. He exited the classroom and went to the student council room to meet up with Millie. Millie, are you in here? Naruto asked, and sure enough Millie was there. Naruto, she said as she hugged him. Naruto just chuckled as he hugged her back. So Millie, how was your day? Naruto asked her. It was just like any other day, though without you it's kind of lame. Millie answered as she sighed, but then she smiled and kissed Naruto right on his lips, and Naruto kissed back. Breaking the kiss, Naruto just hugged her. Don't worry, Millie. I promised to break you out of that stupid arranged marriage to that man, Naruto told her as he hugged her. It was very well kept secret that Millie was to be married off Lloyd Asplund. However, the problem was that Millie didn't love Lloyd or even as a matter of fact know him. She loved Naruto. They had spent 7 years with each other, and when Naruto's parents died 4 years ago, it was Millie who comforted him. For 4 years he and Millie kept their relationship a secret. After all, a pure Britannian, and in 11, Millie would be harassed so much by a vast majority of the student body and even the public, especially since she was former nobility. I know you will, Naruto. She smiled. She knew Naruto like no other, and when he said he promised, then he would keep his promise, even if he had to go to hell and back. Well, I have to go for now. I'll see you tomorrow, Naruto said as he broke the hug and exited the club room. Most of the students had after-school clubs, but not him. He had other things to do. Entering his car, he sped off towards his home. However, he did notice some kind city-wide announcement, but he didn't pay attention. After a few minutes of driving, he noticed a large truck behind him, and, was that Lelouch? Lelouch was on a motorcycle with one of his friends. He looked further back to notice police helicopters chasing the truck. This is the police. Pull over and you will have a change to defend yourself in court. One of the helicopter's pilot demanded the truck. The truck driver did not comply and the police opened fire. Naruto gritted his teeth. Those bullets could hit him too, damn it. Pulling out his phone, he quickly accessed the police helicopters and shut them down, causing them to crash into the ground. But then a nightmare showed up. The truck driver quickly turned to the left and entered into a construction site. However, the truck quickly crashed. Naruto noticed Lelouch and his friends pulled over, and so did as well. Running up to the truck, he spotted Lelouch getting on top of the truck. He was about to shout at him, but the truck started up. Thinking quickly, he pulled out his phone and delayed the truck's start-up and opened one of the side doors and entered. At first he was going to find Lelouch. However, one of the drivers walked into the rear of the truck. Calling Kazuki, I knew she was a rebel because of her activities, but I didn't think that she would be involved this much. Guess she really wants Japan free. Naruto, though, he noticed a nightmare which Colin bored and soon left with to combat with the Britannian nightmare. Pulling out his phone, he quickly sent a few commands to his car and sent it back home. It's a good thing that I have my own AI. Naruto, though. He then hacked into the city-wide network and started listing in on all communications. A small terrorist group has hijacked a truck carrying poison gas. However, it is unclear as to what they intend to do with it. He listened in on the news. Something seems off. He thought as he started to track the truck back to where it was and started to hack the building's computer. Now he was seeing some strange files. What the hell is Code R? Naruto, though, and as he went through the files, he was indeed shocked at what he was seeing. So the Britannians are trying to duplicate this power called Geass from this girl called Cece. But why? From what I can see, they already have a few agents, yet they are not deployed most of the time. It's not world domination, no. Britannia's military is more than capable of that. So what are they after? Naruto thought as he kept on reading the files, but then all of the data was lost, as if it was removed from the servers. He was broken out of his though. Then the truck stopped, and the rear opened up. He saw Lelouch messing with the gas capsule, but Naruto knew it wasn't a gas capsule. He was about to call him out, but stopped, setting a soldier who kicked Lelouch right in the face. He noticed that Lelouch recognized the voice, and called out the soldier's name. No way, Suzaku, you joined the Britannian army. Naruto, though, angrily. Suzaku might not have remembered, but he and Naruto were best friends long before he knew Lelouch, and it was him that sold out Japan to the Britannian. Naruto was a young man who put loyalty and honor to your family and country. Suzaku betrayed both in the name of saving Japan's people. He would always hate Suzaku for his betrayal. Shaking his head clear, he noticed more soldiers pouring in, and the commander asked Suzaku to shoot Lelouch, who denied the order and in turn got shot instead. Damn it! Naruto, though. He hacked the capsule and got the girl out, who was still knocked out, and just as he was about to shut all the lights off, the front of the truck blew up. Using this opportunity, he quickly knocked all the lights out and tried to grab Lelouch, but he ran off on his own. Cursing under his breath, he grabbed the girl and made a run for it. After a few minutes of running, Naruto set the girl down and took off the straitjacket. He noticed that the girl had woken up. "Are you okay?" Naruto asked her. "Are you okay?" Naruto asked the girl, who in turn just gave him a black look. "You saved me, why?" she asked him. Naruto just gave her a wired look. "Why did I save you?" "Well, from what I can tell, they were doing some kind of experiments on you to acquire a power called Geass. I don't know what the hell this Geass is, but it sounds powerful, and as such I cannot allow it to fall into the hands of a nation like Britannia. Plus I am sure you would be tired in that damn capsule. I know I would be." Naruto explained as he found an old server which he then hacked via his phone. Using the server, he connected to the old network of the ghetto and acquired a map. Cece, however, just watched him. "What would you do if you had the power of Geass?" she asked him. "First off, I don't have a clue what this Geass is. Second, if I did have it, I would use it to find the one who killed my family." Naruto answered and went on working with his phone. "That is a first. Most people would use it for some kind of world domination plan, not some petty thing as revenge," she replied, but soon shut up because of the death glare Naruto sent her. "This isn't about revenge. This is about justice. My family was killed and yet no justice was done. All you get was my condolence to your lose, and then life went on. I don't want to rule the world, no, that's too overrated anyways," Naruto said. Cece again looked at him as he worked on his phone, hacking any and all servers in the ghetto. She then got up and walked right up into his face. Naruto looked up from his phone with confusion. "Hey, what are?" He was cut off when she all of a sudden kissed him, fight on the lips. At first he was going to push her back, but then he was bombarded with these strange images. "What is this?" he thought to himself. It was as if he was looking back at the past and seeing images of the past. "Do accept this power of Geass? For if you do, you shall walk in the shadows like no other and have absolute control over the creations of man." He heard Cece's voice. Naruto for one didn't know what was going on, but then again he started to think. What can he do all alone? He is but one man who might have an empire as an enemy. No, the empire is already his enemy. All the hacking has already painted him into their crosshairs. "So? Do you accept my contract?" she asked him. Naruto looked at her seriously. "Yes, I accept your contract," Naruto answered with determination. Nodding, Cece quickly gave him his Geass, and soon the images ended. Naruto was still standing there, but Cece was nowhere to be found. How the... He was broken out of his thoughts as two Britannian nightmares blasted in the building. "Look! We got a live one here," one of the pilots said. "It's a Britannian schoolboy. What do we do with him?" The second one asked. "Kill him. The prince wants no survivors or witnesses," the first one replied. They were about to shoot, but all of a sudden Naruto started to laugh. "You really think you can kill me?" Naruto asked then as he activated his Geass, and when he did he could see it, all the circuits, the flow of energy, the electrical wiring. He could see everything that the nightmares were made up of, and he could control them. Using his new powers he hacked the nightmares with his mind. "Kill him," the Britannian pilot said, however none of the two nightmares fired. "What the hell?" one of them asked. All of a sudden their monitors started to show error signs. "What the hell is going on?" he asked again. "Our nightmares, they are being hacked," the second one said with disbelief. However, he was soon met with a hail of bullets by his comrades. "What are you doing?" he yelled out. "It's not me. The nightmare is moving on its own. Damn it! It's refusing the manual override," his comrade replied. He tried everything, but his nightmare denied all requests. He watched as his nightmare gunned down his comrade, and once he was dead his nightmare finally stopped, but he still didn't have any control. He saw the boy pick up the gun of his fallen comrade that had fallen out of the nightmare, but that's where the video feed was cut, and so there he sat in the nightmare's cockpit for what seemed like days, but in reality not only a minute had passed. He was now freaking out. His hands started to shake as he tried to move his machine, but again no response. Then the cockpit opened all of the sudden. He was so relieved, but when he looked up he saw the barrel of a gun pointing at him. He looked past the barrel to see the student. "What was that about killing me?" Naruto asked. However, before the soldier could say anything, Naruto put a bullet right in his head. "That's right, nothing," Naruto said as he pulled the dead body out and entered the nightmare. "How strange. I only know the basics of a nightmare, but for some reason it's like I know what to do. Could it be this, Geass? Maybe it's because I know how this machine works inside out. But even so, that does not make me an efficient pilot. Knowing how it works and knowing how to fight are two different things, but then again knowing is half the battle." He reactivated the nightmare and sped off to gain high ground. A few minutes later, as was now standing at the tallest building he could find. He stepped out of the nightmare and opened his eyes to show the Geass. Incredible. He could see it all. He could see the inside of the city. The flow of energy data, and it was just incredible. However, he soon found out that even his power had its limit. He shut his eyes close due to the headache that he was now experiencing. Damn it. I guess my mind cannot process this entire fast enough, just like a computer when there's too much for its motherboard to handle. Guess I will have to expand my knowledge base if I want to improve my Geass. He started to hear explosions and gunshots everywhere. This place was a war zone. He started to scan the city once again to try and find the Britannian command center. He might just find some kind of information. After all, Britannian Mobile HQ does have some sensitive information. What's this? The rebels are actually winning? Something is not right here. They were losing just a second ago, and now they turned the battle around like nothing? Who is their commander? As he started to trace the single back that to the commander of the rebel forces. This is easy. The enemy commander is staying at one spot. He was easy to find. He hacked the nightmare without letting the pilot even knowing. Once he hacked the nightmare, he activated the camera located inside the cockpit, and he sure was surprised. Well, what do we have here? Lelouch, so you are the rebel leader? No. That's impossible. I know what you do in your free time like everyone else. Why the hell do I sound like a stalker? Naruto with a sweat drop, but then again knowing is half the battle. However, as he monitored the battlefield, everything changed. A white nightmare appeared and started to push back the rebels. Hacking the nightmare, Naruto spotted in once old childhood friend. Balling his fist in anger, he hacked at least a dozen Britannian nightmares and ordered them to attack the Suzaku's nightmare. Though hacking Suzaku's nightmare and blowing it up would be far more effective, but where would be the fun in that? With Suzaku, with this nightmare I can. Suzaku was cut off as a friendly nightmare tried to gun him down. What are you doing? I am a friendly, he yelled out to the pilot. It's not me. The nightmare. It's moving on its own, the pilot responded. Soon 11 more joined the Rouge nightmare. They all started to attack him. However, Suzaku, instead of killing them, only destroyed their weapons and legs. Naruto gritted his teeth. Very well then, if you won't kill them, then I will. Naruto, he ordered the nightmares to self-destruct. Suzaku, however, was horrified. The nightmares of his fellow comrades in arms just blew up, with them still inside them. Shaking his head, he started to once again fight the enemy and to find the enemy leader. Same time with Lelouch. What's this? Why did these nightmares turn on one of their own? Lelouch asked himself. He had witnessed the battle through the display monitor, and he was confused. To him, war was like the game chess, and your objective was to win it, and that also meant that some pieces would be sacrificed for the overall battle. Yet there was no reason to kill one of your own pieces. He didn't know why, and he didn't care right now, because that same white nightmare was heading his way. His forces were already falling apart, with Naruto. So there you are, Naruto said as he looked at the Britannian command center. He spotted a few soldiers standing guard. How typical, they must really think that their security is great. The Britannian military leaders were arrogant, as they believed that they were unbeatable. Today that changed. He hacked all the explosives that were located on the soldiers' vests and belts. What the hell? How the hell did these activate? One of the soldiers shouted out as they tried to pull them all off, however it was too late and the explosives exploded. The only thing they left was a bloody mess body parts. Naruto put his school bag down and pulled out the same cloths from last night and quickly put them on. He did not want to be caught. Then he processed to walk into the command vehicle and once was inside, he shut down all power. He kept on walking and spotted a few guards. Looking around he spotted a control box right behind the two soldiers. Smirking he activated his Geass and caused the control box to explode, killing the two guards. Walking past the dead bodies he made his way to the command room and upon entering he spotted one of Britannia's princes, Clovis La Britannia, third prince of the Britannian imperial family, viceroy of Area 11 and the son of Gabriel La Britannia. Not only that but you are also the half-brother of Lelouch Vi Britannia, Naruto said as he watched the prince. Who are you and what do you want? Clovis asked Naruto with confidence. Naruto just shook his head. Why don't you drop the act? I know for a fact that all of this urban renewable is a lie. You are only killing all of these people, because of what? Kodar? Oh wait, I wasn't supposed to know that, Naruto said as he acted like he was shocked. How did you know about that? Clovis asked nervously. Who was this man? Oh, don't worry about that. Now I will ask you a few questions and I want answers. If I don't find you answers to be satisfying then I will start leaking all of the information, the experiments that you allowed to be conducted in Kodar, to the press. Naruto explained. No wait. You can't do that. He was cut off as Naruto slammed a tactical baton right in his face. Now then, first question. Who ordered the hit on the Namikaze family? Naruto asked. Please. I don't know anything. Clovis cried out, but was introduced to a baton right in his face. Clovis was bleeding all over the place. Naruto had asked him some questions and even though Clovis was a spineless wimp, he wouldn't say anything other than that. Wrong answer, I know that you had something to do with it. I did my homework long ago and all the information regarding you and your dealing with the Namikaze family was blacked out. Now I will ask you again. Who ordered the hit on the Namikaze family? Naruto asked as he pulled out a gun. Now Clovis was afraid, but he refused to talk. Fine then, be that way. Naruto said as he pointed the gun at Clovis's kneecap and pulled the trigger. Ah! Clovis screamed in pain. His kneecap was blown off. Now talk. Naruto said as he brought the gun to the other kneecap. Okay. I'll talk. Clovis cried out. Naruto smirked. Now he would get some answers. I ordered the hit on your family, because your father almost found out about Kodar. However, there was another reason. The Namikaze family is known for its technological achievements, along with medical science. However, Britannian for a long time suspected that the Namikaze family has made and developed military-grade weapons for Japan. We also suspected that the Namikaze family was also heading Japan's space program. However, we could never really prove that. My secret services found evidence of some type of space weapon on the files of Minato Namikaze. The files only stated the location and a name, Hokkaido and Honjo Masamune. We know what Hokkaido is, Area 11's largest island to the north, but we don't know who Honjo Masamune is. Clovis said in fear. Naruto's mind was racing like mad. His father's computer was something that he still couldn't hack, but maybe with the Geass he could. Back when Japan wasn't taken over, his family went to Hokkaido a lot and his father would always tell them about the legendary sword that Honjo Masamune crafted long ago. A sword that cut anything undeserving, even the air. In fact, the sword itself was a family heirloom. Of course you wouldn't. Honjo Masamune is the name of a legendary priest and swordsmith, and Masamune is the name of his sword that he created. You wouldn't know, because your Britannian destroyed much of our nation's history, including legends. I have to say, Minato Namikaze was a craft man. You found a location, and you had what you assumed a name. Did it ever come to your mind that Honjo Masamune was just a code name? Naruto asked with a growing smirk as he saw Clovis' eyes widened. How could he have been so stupid? How do you know so much of the Namikaze family? Clovis asked. Naruto slowly pulled down his neck warmer. He watched as Clovis gasped like a fish. Because I am Naruto Namikaze, the son of Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki, and the older brother to Naruto Namikaze and the older brother of my soon-to-be younger brother. You killed them all, even my unborn brother. Because of you I lost everything I had close to me. Because of Britannia and its greed I lost everything. Mark my words, Clovis, Britannia will fall and I will have justice be done, and it starts with you. Clovis La Britannia, you have been charged with ordering the Japanese in this ghetto to be massacred and ordered the death of my family. You are hereby found guilty. Your punishment is death, Naruto said as he brought up his gun to Clovis' head, as he begged for mercy and forgiveness. No, wait, please. I'll give you anything. Don't kill me, and Clovis was cut off as a bullet was put into his head thanks to Naruto. Naruto looked at the dead Clovis before walking out. He made his way out. However, before he did that, he hacked the system and gave out the order to let go of the 11s and cease fire in Clovis's voice. Britannia will fall, even if I have to rise an army. I'll do it, and I will have my revenge. But first I need to see what's in my father's computer, Naruto thought as he made his way out of the ghetto and back home. A few minutes later Lelouch showed up to confront his half-brother. However, all he found was his dead body. Damn it! Looks like someone get him first. But whom? It doesn't matter. With this new power of mine I will find out the killer of my mother and destroy Britannia. Though as he gritted his teeth, you can't get information out of a dead body. Seeing that the Britannians let the 11s go, he took his leave. With Naruto. Naruto entered his father's business room. He hadn't been here as a long time. Everything had dust on it, and it all felt ancient. I should clean this place up. Naruto thought sadly. He spotted his father's computer and turned it on. Seeing that the computer asked for a password, he quickly used his Geass and bypassed it. However, then came the hard part. Bypassing all the security, he quickly began unbypassing it with his Geass. However, he soon found it very hard to bypass it, and his headache was getting worse. It feels like my brain is going to explode. Naruto though. He then put his hands to use as well along with his Geass. Damn it, old man, you had one hell of a security system. So man trap set up, and what's this? What the hell, old man? You left a goddamn bomb as a security measure. Naruto though with a sweat drop. His father was one sure paranoid man. Almost there. God, this headache. He though. Sighing in relief, he started to look for Masamune. Going through the files, he finally found it. Let's see what you have been up to, Naruto said to himself. He started to pull up all the files and documents regarding Masamune. What? During the start of 1970s, the Japanese government began to develop a secret space program. This was done so in regards of Britannia's rapid growth. The Japanese government would create an orbital weapon that could strike anywhere virtual on Earth. The project was given to the wealthy Namikaze family, who dominated the military and the technology sectors of Japan. Then in 2000 the Japanese finally launched an unmanned stealth satellite, and from there they launched 10 more that would connect with the original. But what is this weapon? Naruto though, he kept searching for more information. Project Masamune, an armed station with a battery of sophisticated kinetic projectile launchers that can launch tungsten rods. They are pinpoint precision anywhere around the world. They can reach a speed of Mach 10 and cause massive destruction. This weapon, what happened to it? From what I can find, the weapon still orbits the Earth, however is offline. I bet the base for this weapon is in Hokkaido. However, he could not find the location other than Hokkaido. He sighed and rubbed his forehead. He need to rest. I think it's time I restart the Namikaze military sector, in secret. He got up and headed to bed. This was a long day. The next day, like any other day, Naruto was right now in school and he was getting damn bored. The bell rang and he headed off to meet Millie. Inside his head, however, things were different. He had ordered the military sector to be re-established in complete secret. The location chosen was right underneath his mansion. It would be off the grid and powered by a new power generator that he himself made. It was called the arc reactor. One of my reviewers suggested me that, thanks man, the arc reactor was far more effective and created less waste and was energy efficient. With it, he could keep the entire complex off the grid. In fact, he was going to make most of his bases off the grid. There was already a large abandoned complex underneath the mansion, so it was going to be easy to convert it to a military complex. Naruto! He heard Millie yell out his name. What is it? Naruto asked her. Geez, you are spacing out on me. Millie told him. Sorry, just a lot on my mind. Naruto told her as he rubbed the back of his head. Millie just looked at him with a sad face. Naruto looked up at the sky with a sad smile gracing his face. Millie, what would you do if I turned? Naruto asked her. Turned? Millie asked. You know, turn against the crown, raise a rebellion and to fight for what I believe is right. Naruto told her. He looked at her expecting a shocked face, but she was not shocked at all. I can't blame you. After all, your people still suffer under the rule of Britannia, even if they are honorary Britannian. As to what I would do, well, I would stand by you and support you as long as your actions aren't too extreme. She answered much to his shock. He did not expect that at all. Sorry for doubting you, he said warmly while Millie smiled. They never kept secrets from each other, and even now Naruto wouldn't keep a secret from her. The bell rang again and both of them made their way down. However, as they did, they overheard a news channel talking about the death of Prince Clovis and the arrest of his murderer, Suzaku Kuroji. So, they pin the blame on you. It doesn't matter if you die or not, you are just another obstacle that I have to remove. Naruto, though, tonight he would watch his former childhood friend get executed. About time the traitor get what he deserved. Once school was over he quickly went home. Once he was home he for an elevator that took him down to the large complex. It was empty for now with abandoned machinery everywhere. Tonight though that would change because he already had some workers transferred here. The workers were mostly Japanese who were willing to fight for Japan and some were Britannians who hated the crown. He had all of these workers blacklisted and erased from society. They were now just ghosts. Walking into the map room he saw that it was terribly outdated. The map was from 1990, and still showed a lot of countries that weren't taken over by Britannia. Then all of a sudden it gave Naruto an idea. I can do what Kyoto does, give supplies to rebel groups, not only in Japan but throughout the world. Yes, this would cause quite the damage to Britannia. He looked over the map. Yes, he would arm rebels throughout the world and it would be very easy since the Namikaze family already had their own trade routes and Cretan technologies that the world does not know of, such as stealth technology. Heading back up, he noticed that it was getting dark. So he went to the living room and turned the T.V channel to the news. There he is! The murder of our beloved prince. The reported said as they broadcasted Suzaku being escorted to the court for his trial. Naruto, however, was enjoying this like it was some kind of movie. You will die, Suzaku. Because of you, Japan's greatest weapon orbits this very Earth offline. Had you not killed your father, Japan would have had enough time for the weapon to be complete and ready. But you stole everything from the Japanese people and because of you my family had to pay the price at the hands of our conquerors. Though with Hades as he watched the new feed. It was going so well until the whole convoy was stopped by a man calling himself Zero. Who the hell is this Zero? Naruto asked himself. His face was covered up by a mask and the voice was altered by it as well. This Zero was a complete unknown. The one who killed Clovis was me. Zero reviled. Naruto, however, was seething with rage. No! With this Zero claiming that he killed Clovis, Suzaku will most likely be released. He could only watch as the events played out on the bridge, and Zero made his escape with Suzaku. Damn it! Naruto slammed his fist down on his table. Mad that Zero saved Suzaku? He heard a voice. Pulling out his gun he pointed it at the intruder, only to find that green-haired girl, Cece. What? How did you get in here? Naruto asked as he lowered his gun. It was quite easy actually. That was all Cece said before heading off to his kitchen to find something to eat. Naruto merely looked at her. There was something different about her. Where did you go after giving me this power? He asked her as she pulled out some pizza from the fridge. Where was I? Well, first off you were never supposed to find me, I guess. As for where? Well, let's just say someone else also seemed to want my power, and I gave them. Cece answered. Naruto looked at her as he went through the list of all that Cece could have given the power of Geass to. It was Lelouch, wasn't it? Naruto asked. Figured it out in one go? You're no fun, Cece said amusingly. However, when she looked at him again, she stopped once more. There was something different about this boy. His eyes were different from Lelouch's. Something far greater than the hate Lelouch had for his father. What do you hate, and why do you hate it? Cece asked, and once again saw the burning fire in his eyes. The rage, the hate, the anger, and his will. What I hate is the Britannia, and why do I hate it? Because they took everything away from me, everything, and I will not stop until I have taken everything away from them. No one can stop me, not you, not Britannia, not God, and most certainly not me. Even if I die, I will return to haunt them, for revenge is an act of passion, vengeance of justice, injuries are revenged, crimes are avenged. My enemies are not the people, but rather the crown, but even I know that people will die, whether they are necessary or unnecessary deaths. He answered to determination, and Cece believed it too. This was the first time she had ever truly believed in what someone said. Naruto was prepared to deal with the consequences and Lelouch was not. Naruto had the will and determination to keep fighting and Lelouch lacked that determination and will. Naruto would stay in the shadows and play both sides, while Lelouch would lead an open rebellion. Cece, for some reason, felt something in her chest beat faster than it had even done before for a very, very long time. What is this? She thought as she brought her hands over her chest. When was the last time she ever felt like this? Maybe when she was just a child, but now, she started to feel it again. But this one was different. The first time she felt it was of acceptance, but this was different. Why does my heart beat like this? She asked herself in her mind. Today was the start of two legends, one of a boy who waged war against his family, and one of a boy who waited like a hawk to feed upon his prey when it was weakened. But only one legend would echo throughout history. The next day Naruto woke up to find Cece in his bed, cuddling him. Grunting in annoyance, he tried to pray her away, however she cuddled him tighter. Will you wake up, damn it? Naruto screamed at her. Will you keep it down? I am trying to sleep, she replied, much to Naruto's annoyance. He finally got her to let him go, and went to change. Once he was ready, he went off to school knowing that Cece could handle herself, and he would rather allow her to stay at his home rather than walk around in public. However, for some reason he was having a bad feeling today. Parking his car, he made his way to his class and waited for the bell. However, as class began, he noticed that the teacher was late. Class, today we have a new student join us, the teacher said as he entered the class. The entire class stopped their talking and turned their attention to the teacher. Well then, come on in, the teacher said as the new student walked in. Both Naruto's and Lelouch's eyes widened, though Lelouch's eyes were that of shock and Naruto's was that of hate. So, looks like you are now attending this school. Ha! Sasaki, you fool, by coming here you trapped yourself. You will pay in time. Naruto, though, as he narrowed his eyes. You take the seat next to Naruto Namikaze? The teacher said as the teacher pointed towards Naruto. Naruto could see Suzaku's eyes widened. So, you remember me after all, don't you? Too bad we are no longer friends. Naruto, though. Suzaku walked up to Naruto, and to the seat next to him. Lelouch also noticed Suzaku's expression and Naruto's unseen hostilities towards Suzaku. The tension in the air was so thin that you could cut it with a butter knife. When it was lunchtime, Lelouch got up and signaled Suzaku follow him, and follow him he did. It's been 7 years since we used that signal, Lelouch said to Suzaku, who in turn smiled sadly. YH, so do I still call you Lelouch? Suzaku asked. Yes, my real identity is counted among the dead, Lelouch answered as Suzaku nodded. They both stayed silent until Lelouch asked Suzaku a question. So, what was up with you and Naruto? Lelouch asked, and watched as Suzaku tensed up. We used to be friends before I met you, however you two never actually met, but after the war. I didn't know what happened to him. Speaking of which, what happened to him? Suzaku answered / asked. From what I know, he is part of the Namikaze family, which was accepted into nobility a few years after Japan was taken over. However, 4 years earlier his entire family was assassinated. Nobody knows who actually killed them, but some claim that it was some elitist Britannians that didn't like them. Lelouch explained. He watched as Suzaku's eyes widened. His old friend's family was killed by Britannians? Lelouch was thinking of something else. Naruto is pretty well off, and he is Japanese by birth. I might be able to get him to join my cause. If he does not agree, then a little use of Geass will help. As he plotted to acquire a supplier. That's impossible! Suzaku yelled. Lelouch just sighed. Suzaku, the world is a big place, and not everyone plays by the rules. You might not want to believe it, but even Britannia is corrupt. Lelouch explained to his friend. Suzaku was truly naive. Look, class is about to start. Why don't you swing by today at my place? Lelouch asked. Suzaku nodded. He had a lot on his mind right now. With Naruto. Naruto was spending his free time with Millie as they both ate lunch. So? How is it? Millie asked Naruto. The salt is a bit off, but it still tastes good. Naruto said as he chewed on the food that Millie had cooked for him. Naruto, please tell me what you are planning to do. Millie asked him. Naruto sighed. Millie, to be honest, I am plotting a rebellion against Britannia. Naruto answered. Naruto, I know you better than anyone, and I know for a fact that you are too lazy to plot a rebellion against Britannia for no reason, so why? She asked. Because the Britannian royal family killed by family. It was Clovis that ordered them killed. Naruto answered while Millie's eyes widened. So what will you do? I will not stop until the royal family has paid, and look at our world. It's filled with hate and violence. Someone has to change it for the better, and I will be that someone. Even if my actions are questionable, then so be it. I will be the unsung hero, the villain that killed many, all for the sake of revenge. I won't blame you if you chose to leave me. Naruto said. No, Naruto, I won't leave you. I have been talking to my grandfather. Millie said. Naruto, however, wondered why she would do that. Naruto, you know that my grandfather greatly dislikes Britannia, and he regrets that my mother turned out like she did. He was going to move to Japan anyway, regardless if the invasion happened or not. I talked to him about you and what you are planning to do. He said that he supports you. Millie said, shocking Naruto. Why? He asked her. It's simple, really. He hates how Britannia is just going around and bullying out nations into submission. He even told me that he has no love for Britannia. Also, he knows that you are the hacker. It's not hard to figure out who the hacker is if you know a few redheads. Millie answered with a smile. Naruto just sweat dropped. How the hell does the principal of his school know that he is the hacker and not the entire military forces of Britannia? So don't worry, Naruto. I will always stay on your side no matter what. Millie said with determination while Naruto chuckled. The bell soon rang. Well, looks like it's class time for me. Naruto said as he got up, but before he could leave, Millie gave him a kiss. When school ended, Naruto left the school and headed back home. He had to find the base located in Hokkaido. That base is vital if he wants control of Japan's weapon in orbit. However, as Naruto was going through more of the files that he had decrypted from his father's computer, and he found something rather interesting. It seems like the Japanese government was making more than just a space weapon. They also wanted a moon base. Hell, they even had everything ready for it. This moon base, this would have been a greatest advantage and the greatest achievement of not only Japan, but also for humanity. Perhaps I can restart this space program. Maybe I can do more than just a moon base. Naruto, though, he was amazed by all the projects that Japan had ongoing under a shroud of secrecy, and all these programs were geared for one thing and one thing only, to prevent an invasion and takeover of Japan. He needed that base in Hokkaido. It was a vital launch pad from what he found in the space development factory and research site. So what are you planning now? He heard Cece as she walked in with some pizza. You know you are going to get sick if you keep eating that pizza. Naruto replied. No, I won't. Besides, pizza is one of the greatest foods. She fired back. You're right. After all, an immortal isn't that easy to kill. Naruto said with a smirk. He knew all right, after all. How did you know that? Cece asked as she put down her pizza. It's simple, really. You seem far wiser than your age, and you find everything that goes on in this world amusing. Plus your blood samples were quite strange. Naruto answered. How did you get my blood sample? She asked, not amused at all. That's for me to know and you to find out. Naruto replied. Cece narrowed her eye. She was beaten in her own game, and she never liked losing in her own game. As to your earlier question, I am to supply rebels like Zero and other groups throughout the world. I have some friends in the EU that would very much like what I am offering. Naruto replied. Area 18 was getting quite unstable with the Middle Eastern countries not like their nation and religion being oppressed. In fact, Britannia was having quite the hard time trying to control the people of Area 18, and a few Islamic extremists were even going far as suicide bombing. While Britannia fights the rebels in Area 11 and others, I will wait in the shadows and wait as my own forces grow into an unstoppable army. My goal is not only revenge, but to forge a nation that would not watch as others are bullied by the world superpowers, a nation that will be the police of the new world. At least that way I can assure that this cycle of pain and suffering can end. Naruto explained. His revenge would be completed, but he would also create something new in the process. After all, destruction comes before creation. Naruto said with a smirk. He had already had people recruited for his cause, and also some were sent to Hokkaido to find the base. As for Nightmare production, it was going very well. He already had a shipment of 100 nightmares sent off to Area 17, the former state of Russia, and there was a reason why he chose Area 17. Out of all the areas, Area 17 showed the greatest resistance when it was conquered. However, all of that ended when Britannia carried out cruel massacres throughout the area to purge it of rebel elements. But even from all the information he collected, a lot of the rebel elements retreated into the Serbian wilderness. Their numbers are large from what he knows, and all they need are supplies and weapon. You know, Zero will be one of your obstacles, right? Cece asked. Naruto, however, chuckled. No, he won't, because he knows that I am Japanese and I have a lot of resources at my command. He would try to get me to join his cause since I am Japanese. He wants supplies, well, I can get him that supplies. He is just one of the many groups that I will supply, and besides, it doesn't matter if his group falls, and he is just one of the many pieces that my shadow will control. Naruto replied. Cece, however, was thinking about something else. Naruto didn't care if one of the rebel group went down, there were plenty more that could replace them. That was the difference between him and Lelouch, and while Zero was ready to replace them, he would always double think, and Naruto. He would always go ahead with his plans. Does that mean that you are ready to give up all if it means to protect everything you love? Cece asked him, a bit amused. If that is what it takes to protect all that I love, then so be it. I will walk down that dark path if I must. After all, things won't change if you just sit there and wait for it to change. You have to change it with your own two hands. Naruto answered as he kept working on his computer. To someone who knew nothing about computers and programs, it would seem that he was just working with some nonsense, but in actuality he was stealing blueprints to nightmares and weapons from not only the Britannians, but also the Chinese and the EU. He didn't need his Geass to steal them. The old-fashioned way was all it took. It's actually pitiful how these superpowers think that their firewalls were unbreakable. Naruto snorted. It was actually quite funny, really. Cyber warfare had so much potential, but rather than exploit that potential, they opted to create bigger and stronger weapons and gave it security that was good enough to prevent an average hacker from doing anything. Too bad for them. Naruto was not average hacker. It was a strange day at school today. Well, very strange. When he arrived at school there was a massive cat hunt, and Millie was the one who started it. Apparently the one who caught the cat first would get a kiss from one of the members of student council. In the end, however, Suzuka ended up saving Lelouch from falling to his death, and they both got a kiss from Lelouch's sister. However, there were better things that were on the horizon. Cornelia had arrived to Japan and things were about to get rough. Cornelia was brutal when it came to cracking down on numbers. In fact, one of his vessels was almost caught by her forces. He would have to rethink his strategy. He would send supplies rather than nightmares. After all, it was easy to get supplies across rather than large war machines. I need to start becoming more activate, and I need to test my powers. He was listening to the news as he worked on his computer. The news, however, was going on about how Cornelia was surrounding a ghetto to wipe out a few resistance fighters. Trying to draw Zero out, aren't you, Cornelia? Naruto, though. It was easy to tell. She was broadcasting this live throughout Area 11, and if he knew Zero, then Zero would confront her. I think it's time for me to leave for the ghetto. He changed his cloths and headed off to the ghetto. With Zero, Zero was having a great time. Oh yes. He was beating Cornelia and his forces back. His plan was to capture Cornelia and ask her a few questions. Now then, should I make a path to you or force you out? As he observed the battle, he noticed that the Britannian forces started to retreat. What? No stomach for a fight? Zero, though. He ordered one of his nightmare units to engage his IFF, however as soon as the unit did, it was destroyed. Gritting his teeth, he then ordered another unit to engage IFF and retreat to a hospital ruins and ordered a few fighters to prep an ambush. However, Cornelia, knowing it was an ambush, ordered a few units to surround the ruins and move in. All units fall back. Cancel the ambush. Zero ordered, and so they did. Cornelia's nightmares didn't find anything. However, everything started to fall apart as Cornelia started to press the attack from all fronts. Zero gritted his deaths. It was even getting worse as his forces failed to keep with Cornelia's forces. As he tried to rally his forces, they started to stop listening to him, and soon his forces started to surrender. But they were all killed by Cornelia's order. Beaten so easily. But that's not how the game's supposed to work. Gritting his teeth, he started to wonder what his next move would be. But then Cornelia ordered all nightmare pilots to exit out of their nightmare. Balling his hands into a fist, and a look of pure rage appeared on Lelouch's face. Cornelia! He yelled in his mind. As he tried to make out plans of escape, it was finally his turn to exit the nightmare. I can't. My hatch was damaged early in battle. He bluffed. I see. Well, turn around and we will open it for you. The Royal Guard member ordered. At once, sir. Lelouch replied. It was over. His identity was going to come out. It's Zero! Someone yelled out, and indeed Zero was standing on top of a building, and he soon jumped down backward. Using this distraction, Lelouch slipped away and made his way to the old swear system. However, during this time, no one noticed a nightmare observing the battle and soon making its way out once the battle ended. Lelouch, however, ran through the swear system and soon confronted the imposter. What are you doing here? I did not need saving. Lelouch said to the imposter, now revealing to be Cece. You sour loser, you lost. Cece replied. I wouldn't have lost if the conditions were even. Lelouch yelled. Well then, why don't you make conditions even then? Cece asked as she turned around. Very well then, I will make the conditions. I'll raise an army that Britannia can't beat, a nation. Lelouch answered. Cece only looked at him blackly. He indeed had the ability. But he did not have the mind for what was to come, even though he would overcome his obstacles. But it would be at the cost of many lives. With Naruto, Naruto had observed the battle and noticed that Zero was underpowered and outnumbered, but he was still able to put up a good fight. However, Cornelia proved why she was called the Goddess of Victory, and defeated Zero and his forces. However, he realized that Cornelia relied heavily on numbers and firepower. Combining those two, even an armature could perform standard strategy. Still, he knew that Cornelia was a good fighter herself. One thing he did notice was that Zero was the only one doing the commanding, compared to the whole command structure the Britannians were using to defeat him. That alone proved his strategic mind. This battle data is valuable, even if it was short-lived. In the end, Zero was beaten, and that was the face. With this defeat, Zero will need to come to me for nightmares and supplies. Naruto, though, heading back home. As he was heading home, he got a call from Millie. What's up, Millie? Naruto asked her. Naruto, tomorrow me and the girls are heading to Lake Kawaguchi. Want to come along? She asked. Sorry, Millie, I can't. I have some work to do. He answered. It's okay, just don't get hurt, okay? She answered / asked. Naruto just chuckled. Don't worry, I'll be fine. He answered before ending the call. As he entered his home, he quickly went to work. He had about 20 other hackers working together, as one group called Dead Sec. If you have played Watch Dogs, then you know what this group is. It was Cece's job to find and extract any and all information regarding important figures throughout the world. He had also created another branch within his company called Bloom Corporation. On the outside it looked like a regular company that specialized in everything from wireless phones operation system and home computers, to digital imaging processors, and linked bi-network security systems. However, on the inside Bloom had created the CTOS or Central Operating System, and it because a huge hit with the Britannian officials here, because it allowed the whole Tokyo settlement to be united as one under one operating system. There was a reason why Naruto made Bloom and developed the CTOS, and it was because he could control almost anything in the city, and he can also monitor everything as well. The CTOS was also installed into other cities in Area 11. It wasn't very hard to install it actually. Bloom was designed to take apart cities inside out. I have some guess as to where the base is hidden. MT Racy or near the Kamui links. Regardless, I will send out some people to investigate both sites. Naruto, though, looking over his other computer, he was also working on updated modules for the moon. The Japanese modules were old and some of them wouldn't have worked, but using them Naruto made updated modules that would work. Looking over another computer, it showed his military might. He had just over 200 recruits, with 80 of them being nightmare pilots. He wasn't going to give them some Gloucester or Sutherland, no, he had come across a wide variety of designs developed by the Britannians, Chinese and the EU. Designs like the Vincent, Lancelot, Shinhu, Panzer Hummel, Alexander, and he was also able to get his hands on the Japanese design made by Kyoto the Gekka and the Guren. It was rather easy to find them, and he already had a few in productions. Interestingly enough, the pilots used the Alexander more so than others. It was mainly because of its mobility, and they performed quite well too. He wondered why the EU Japanese pilots were having so much difficulty operating them. He chalked it down to not enough training. He had so taken it upon himself to combine some of Nightmare frames to make a new Nightmare frame. The Lancelot was fast, as well as the Guren, but they lacked firepower that the Panzerhummel carried. The Shinhu was a totally different beast. It was very hard to operate, so he designed a version that was easy to mass produce and easier to operate. So, where did you go? Naruto asked as Cece walked. It's none of your businesses. Cece replied. So, tell me, what type of Geass does Lelouch have? Naruto asked Cece as he turned around to look at her. I am not at the liberty to say that. Cece answered. Oh really? Well then I guess you don't know who Zero is as well, do you not? Naruto asked and watched as Cece narrowed her eyes. What do you mean? She asked him. Oh nothing, it's just that the very day Lelouch gets his Geass, this man named Zero appears out of nowhere and is able to beat back the Britannians. Makes me think that Lelouch is Zero, don't you think? Naruto stated/asked. He watched as Cece said nothing. I'll take your silence as a yes. Naruto said as he turned around and went back to work while Cece was gritting her teeth. How the hell does he keep doing it? Once again she lost at her own game, and how does he make her heart beat like this every time she is close to him? Knowing Lelouch is Zero, what will you do? She asked him. Nothing. Naruto answered, surprising her. What do you mean nothing? She asked. I will just do that, nothing. I don't care if Lelouch is Zero, all I care is that he causes damage to Britannia. Who you are, or what you want is irrelevant if you want to fight Britannia, he answered once more. Cece was getting a picture of just what kind of man Naruto was. Naruto was the kind of man who would keep those he loves out of harem's way and his own soldiers as well, while using all the players on the field against one another. Like a snake of a hawk he was poised to strike when the time was right, and when he did the whole situation would change. Cece would call him the puppet master behind the coming battles that would take place, and when he reviled himself, it would be dramatic. She thought about the Geass Order and the Emperor of Britannia. The Geass Order was more focused on controlling Britannia through the shadows, with the Britannian Emperor's help, while the Emperor himself was focused on a more foolish goal like kill God. The Emperor knew that his son was alive and well along with his sister, but what of Naruto? He was a nobody to them, someone who was just a normal human living life, and that much was enough to show their arrogance. While they focused on more outspoken threats, they failed to watch the shadows. That was what separated him from the rest. He had no one that saw him as an enemy. That was why he would be one true mastermind and victor of the battles and war to come. His forces would become an unstoppable maelstrom. A maelstrom. I guess your parents did name you correct. Cece, though with a smirk, she had given him the Geass, because he seemed interesting, but instead she got more for she bargained for. Indeed, he would be the one true king, even if he had to rule from the shadows. Shadow King does sound attracting. Cece, though, while giggling in her mind. Her eyes widened and she shook her head. Damn it, what the hell was wrong with her? Shouldn't be falling for the redhead? Could she? Impossible. She has lived for oh so long, and there was just no way that she would have feelings, epically love. After all, she was immortal. The question no was, how long could she keep denying? Naruto gritted his teeth. Why? Millie was taken as a hostage on her trip along with her friends and other people by the JLF. Now he was coming with plans of how to rescue her. He could save her, but he didn't want to show his military might. As he walked down a hallway, he started to think of different ways to save her. I could use the new orbital frame, but will it work? It hasn't even been tested. I have no choice. Naruto, though. He entered a large lab, and at the center of the lab stood the orbital frame. It was mostly humanoid in shape. Since it was still a prototype, it was colored all silver. Protruding from its spine are wing-like thrusters that are folded when not in use, with two smaller basic ones located at the joints of the knees. The head is bird-like in shape, giving it a sort of anthropomorphic appearance. The right arm is armed with a retractable blade that charges when in use. Whilst retracted, a small gun cannon is located at the hilt. The left arm has a deflector energy shield which blocks all incoming attacks. At the lower base of its spine are three fin-like protrusions. These fins separate from the body and orbit the frame and can assist in the frame's offense. This was called the orbital frame, something far more advanced than a nightmare, mainly because it had the ability of flight, even in space. As such, Naruto had dubbed then the orbital frame. This was Type 1. It was supposed to be tested soon, but he would have to use it today. Ultron, is the orbital frame Type 1 operational? Naruto asked to what seemed like no one. However, he did ask someone. According to the tests I have run, the Type 1 should work at 70% efficiency. However, the only weapons mounted are the blade and cannon. It is usable. Ultron spoke in a robotic, but almost human voice. Ultron is an artificial intelligence program that Naruto had created. The program was designed to hack, take over machines and other tasks. Sir, I recommend not using the Type 1. It has not been tested and can put you at risk. Spoke another robotic voice. Naruto sighed. Don't worry, JRVIS, if Ultron thinks it's usable then it is. Naruto said. JRVIS was another artificial intelligence program Naruto had made. However, unlike Ultron, JRVIS was used mostly to help Naruto run his company. Come on, JRVIS, don't you trust your fellow AI? Apparently Ultron also had developed a sense of humor. JRVIS sighed. Wait, can an AI even sigh? Ultron, get the Type 1 ready. We have someone to save. Naruto stated. The machines in the room started to come to life and started to ready the machine. Naruto entered a small lift and entered the cockpit. As the frame started to come to life, a giant door opened up behind him. Turning the machine around, he prepared to launch. The frame launched up a high speed and was rapidly entering the atmosphere. I believe that you should point your frame downwards. We have exited the atmosphere. Untroll suggested. Why do you have to be such a smartass? Naruto asked. Well, you made me like this. Untroll responded. Naruto sighed. Turning around, he quickly located the location of hotel. Let's hope that we don't come down like a meteorite. Naruto muttered. The frame quickly shot down back into the atmosphere. I suggest you slow down, or else the frame will become a flying ball of fire death. Ultron suggested. Naruto, however, didn't listen and landed with extreme force. The frame was red due to the re-entry. The Britannia Nightmares were caught off guard, but quickly proceeded to surround his frame. With Cornelia. Cornelia was having a really bad day today, and it went from bad to shit. The JLF had taken hostages and were now demanding political prisoners be released. Cornelia wouldn't have cared about the hostages, But the problem was that her own sister was also one of the hostages. Then the man named Zero showed up and blackmailed her into letting him through. Now she was waiting for the Lancelot to be ready. Just as they were about to begin, something crashed right in the middle of her forces. "What is that thing?" she asked. Everyone was looking at the strange machine. It wasn't a nightmare, that was for sure. She watched as Britannian nightmares surrounded the strange machine. "With Naruto, I don't have time for this," he said as he fired off his cannon, which shot out smaller beams of energy, hitting all the nightmares that had him surrounded. He was about to head towards the hotel, but he quickly activated his energy shield and blocked an energy shot from the Lancelot. "Stop this at once," he heard. Turning around, he faced the white nightmare. "Well, if it isn't Japanese biggest traitor," Naruto said with a smirk, though it could not be seen. "What are you talking about? I am not traitor?" Suzaku responded, though there was panic in his voice. "Really? Then I guess Genbukuruji really did commit suicide," Naruto shot back. He dodged a slash Harken, which he cut the wire to by using his blade. Switching to the cannon once more, he fired off 10 beams at the Suzaku. He tried to dodge them, but one of them hit his arm and he was forced to detach it. "I don't have time for this," Naruto said as his frame started to float, shocking everyone, and the 3 fins separate from the body started to orbit the frame. The fins started to attack from different direction. Suzaku managed to dodge the first 2, but the third one cut right through his nightmare's leg. Just as he detached the leg, the first 2 appeared once more and sliced off his last legs and arm. The third one circled around and was heading right for the cockpit. Seeing that all of his nightmare's limbs were destroyed, he was forced to eject. The third fin sliced right through the core of the nightmare, and caused the nightmare to blow up. With their target destroyed, the fins reattached with the frame. Naruto turned around. However, the minute he did that, the hotel's foundation blew up and started to rapidly sink. "Millie!" Naruto, though, as he flew towards the sinking hotel. However, when he got there, it was nothing but rubble. "Millie, no," he muttered as he closed his eyes. He couldn't save her. However, he heard the sound of lights turning on and turned towards the source, only to find a boat with Zero and other people dressed in black clothing and a few other small rafts with the hostages. "Millie!" Naruto, though, as he sighed mentally. He was glad that she was all right. He watched as Zero gave his speech of Knights for Justice. Using the moment, he slipped past the Britannian defaces and headed home. Zero, however, did notice the strange machine and made a note to find out who the maker and the pilot were. With Suzaku. "No! My beautiful Lancelot!" Lloyd screamed as he went down on his keens. Besides him was his assistant Cecile Krumi, whose sweat dropped at his antics. "Shouldn't we be worried about Suzaku? I mean, he seems pretty shaken up," she asked him. "Don't worry. He will be fine, but Lancelot, I'll have to rebuild from scratch," he finished with a sigh. He was, however, wondering what that machine was. The next day after school, Naruto sighed as he entered his car. He had met up with Millie and asked her if she was all right. After confirming that she was okay, Naruto made his way out. He did notice Nina was very cautious of him. He chalked it up as fear of him being Japanese. Entering a tunnel that led towards the highway, he was stopped by a red and orange nightmare with a strange metallic hand. Stopping his car, he noticed that he was surrounded by the Black Knights. He should have expected this. Lelouch and Colin both weren't at school today. "So what would the Black Knights want from me?" he asked them. He got no response, so he opened his mouth to speak again, but was cut off. "Naruto Namikaze, the son of Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki and the brother of Naruto Namikaze. You are the only surviving member of the Namikaze family that was killed. You are Japanese by birth, but you and the rest of your family are considered nobles in the Britannian hierarchy. Tell me, why don't you fight against Britannia? You are Japanese, are you not?" Zero said, walking out of the shadows. Naruto narrowed his eyes. "That would lead to pointless bloodshed. Britannia controls almost half of the world and has one of the largest military. Waging war against them would be foolish," he answered. But you see, it is not. Britannia can be beat, but not through conventional ways. All you need are people that are willing to stand up," Zero responded. "What do you want, Zero?" Naruto asked. I know for a fact that the Namikaze family has the ability to produce military-grade weapons, including nightmares. I want you to supply me nightmares for my group. Zero answered. Zero was hoping that Naruto would agree since he was Japanese. On one condition, I supply you with nightmares and supplies and you never mention my name to anyone. I am Japanese, therefore the Britannians will be quick to arrest me should my name is leaked out as a supplier. Naruto demanded. He could see Zero and his group of rebels relax, to which he smirked. I see, very well then I agree. You might be considered a Britannian noble, but I know for a fact that you want the liberation of Japan. Zero said as he boarded a stolen Britannian nightmare. The Black Knight soon left, leaving Naruto standing there. Naruto slowly started to chuckle, before bursting out in laughter. I can't believe it was that easy to fool him. Everything is going according to plan. He thought as he entered his car. Arriving home, he spotted Cece munching down on some pizza. Is pizza the only thing you eat? Naruto asked her with a black face. Cece turned towards him. It's one of the best foods ever created, so why shouldn't I? She answered/asked. Naruto just sighed and rubbed his forehead. I assume something happened on the way? Cece asked as she ate. Naruto just looked at her. I think you already know what happened. Naruto answered, much to Cece's disappointment. Zero, or rather Lelouch, appeared and wanted help from you. She asked. Naruto nodded, seeing that she already knew. Yes, with this I can keep Cornelia busy with Zero and his group. For no, I have to find an old friend that should be living in the EU. Naruto said as he sat down and turned his laptop on. Cece looked over his shoulder and saw the profile of a young girl that seemed very familiar. Leila Malcal. Cece said. Naruto turned towards her. How do you know that name? Naruto asked with narrowed eyes. I met her when she was very young and granted her the power of Geass. However, I did not enter into a contract with her. Cece answered. Naruto's eyes, however, widened. Leila had the Geass far longer than he did? How do you know her? Cece asked him this time. Leila is from a family of former Britannian aristocrats. I and she used to be friends before Japan was taken over. However, when Japan was taken over, she vanished. I don't know what happened to her, but I knew that she was alive. However, with my power and skills, I was able to find her living within the EU. Her family was killed in a terrorist bombing attack. That is all I know. Naruto said, and that is when I met her. Cece said at the end. What is her Geass? Naruto asked her. I don't know. I just granted her the power of Geass, not entered into a contract. I am not aware of what it is or for the fact that she even has it anymore. Cece explained. Naruto nodded. Regardless, Leila is an old friend that he can help. You seem to have lots of old friends from your childhood, Suzaku, Millie, and now Leila. You sure you don't have more? She asked him. She watched as Naruto thought about the answer for a second. I used to have many, but the war took them all away. Just one of the many things war and hatred took from me. Naruto responded. He did not notice Cece giving in a sad look as he worked on. Sir, it appears you have visitors inbound. J.A.R.V.I.S spoke. It's not your girlfriend, that's for sure. Ultron also spoke. Naruto sighed. Put them on screen, JRVIS. Naruto ordered, and soon a holographic screen appeared before him showing a full Britannian escort. From the looks of it, Her Highness, Princess Cornelia, is coming to pay you a visit. Ultron said as he chuckled. Show some respect for Naruto-sama. J.A.R.V.I.S reprimanded Ultron. Soon both of the AIs got in a fight. Naruto just sighed. Enough, you two, Ultron, you are to hide and not show yourself to the Britannian. You know why. J.A.R.V.I.S you will stay, since unlike Ultron, you behave and show respect. Cece, you are to hide as well. Oh, and Ultron, you are tasked with the security of the lower levels, the labs, and production lines. Let's give Her Royal Highness a warm welcome, Naruto said as he got and headed to his room to change clothes. He didn't want to be dressed like a schoolboy, if he was going to be visited by a princess. The door bell rang and Naruto walked up to open the door. On the other side was Cornelia and her sister along with a few Britannian soldiers, and surprisingly Suzaku was also there. "Ah, Princess Cornelia, to what do I owe this visit?" he asked while leading them inside to his living room, which was massive. "This is a pretty big house you live in. Are your parents or siblings not home?" Euphemia asked innocently. Naruto just kept a blank face. "No, they all died thanks to Britannia," he thought. "No, they all died about 4 years ago," he answered. Euphemia gasped, while Cornelia looked around the house as if she was some kind of cop. "Check the whole house," she ordered her soldiers, who in turn saluted and did as told. "Mind I ask why you are searching my house?" Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow. Cornelia looked at him with narrowed eyes. "Yesterday, around 10 o'clock p.m., a ship belonging to the Namikaze Industries was stopped for checkup. We found weapons on board that ship." "Care to explain why one of your company's ship was smuggling weapons?" she asked him. Naruto crushed in his mind, but kept a calm look. "I am afraid I don't know what you are talking about. The Namikaze industry only works in the medical field and networking. My family stopped making weapons long ago, before even my father was born. Those weapons could have been planted there to frame by some nobles. After all, there are quite a few nobles that don't like me," Naruto answered with a smile as he closed his eyes. He had indirectly insulted Britannian nobles. Cornelia seemed to pick up on the insult as she narrowed her eyes, but Euphemia did, because she only smiled sadly. "I apologize on their behalf. Quite a few nobles don't like Japanese or other area native people, but at least you are making a difference," Euphemia said. Cornelia was about to reprimand her sister, but Naruto started to chuckle. "Making a difference, you say? What good is making a difference when most of your friends are dead?" Naruto shot back, looking at Suzaku. Suzaku was confused as to why his old friend was glaring at him. "But isn't Suzaku one of your childhood friend?" Euphemia asked. Suzaku had talked about his school life and encountering his old friend. Unfortunately, Naruto's rage slowly started to surface. "He was my friend, before the war, that is, but what he did was unforgivable," Naruto replied while looking at Suzaku, whose eyes widened. "Does he know Suzaku, though?" Euphemia was going to ask another question, but was cut off as one of the soldiers reported back. "Everything seems clear, Princess Cornelia. No weapons or plans for weapons had been found," the soldier said. Cornelia nodded to herself. "Very well, I thank you for your time, but it's time we leave," she said. "It's of no concern. JRVIS, please show the princesses out, will you?" Naruto said. "At once, sir," JRVIS responded. Everyone save Naruto was shocked by the AI. "Who is this JRVIS?" Cornelia asked. "It's an AI I made for myself. It allows me to handle the company more efficiently," he answered. "That sounds quite helpful. Maybe you could sell this technology to the Britannian military?" she asked him. Naruto, however, shook his head. "No, JRVIS isn't made for military class operations or handling. Only for office work. He's like a computer, but he can handle things on his own," Naruto answered. Cornelia frowned. She couldn't force him as he was the creator of the AI. Doing that would only encourage groups like the Black Knights to swell in numbers. Nodding, she quickly took her leave, followed by her sister and the rest of the soldiers. Once he was sure that they had left, Naruto pulled out his laptop. How were they able to find that ship? It was unmarked in the first place. At least they didn't find that out. Naruto, though. This was a mistake. He could be afforded to make such a mistake. If that ship was carrying the new Nightmares prototypes, then he would be in big trouble with the Britannians. He knew that he wasn't perfect, even he could make mistakes. "Ultron, what's on the schedule today?" Naruto asked as he closed his laptop. "Isn't it JRVIS' job to handle that?" Ultron asked, as if he was annoyed. "Yes, but only regarding the business. You, however, are tasked with more classified and sensitive information," Naruto explained. "Anyways, you are to meet with the leader of an up-and-coming South American rebel group. They call themselves the Federation. It's a group comprised of many small groups from different areas of South America. Their goal is to free all areas located in South America and create a unified South America. Their leader is Gabriel T. Rourke, an ex-Britannian soldier gone rogue. He is also half Brazilian, which might add to why he went rogue. Apparently he isn't the only rogue. Many Britannian soldiers have gone rogue and all are either full or half-blooded Britannians. Rourke has escaped capture multiple times and also has caused much damage. Within this federation is a group of elite soldiers called Ghosts. There are a total of 50 ghosts from what I can gather, and each of them is deadly and can even take on nightmares through stealth, strategy and tactics. Ultron stated. Naruto looked over the files that he had over this group called the Federation. Ready the frame. We launch soon. Naruto ordered and head back to his room to change cloths. Gathering more allies? Cece asked as she appeared out of nowhere. You could say that. Naruto said. He entered his room and quickly changed his cloths to those he wore during the mall. Exiting his room, he made his way towards the lab. You do know that Lelouch will be causing a lot of uproar over here, right? Cece asked him. I know, and that is what I want. With large rebel groups moving around causing damage, Britannia's hands will be too full and they will fail to notice me hiding in the shadows, Naruto said as he entered the lab. The frame was reworked from the battle data gathered. It was also fitted with 4/Harken, 2 in the shoulder points and 2 by the hips. It was also fitted with 2 more fins which rested in the back. Well, I am off, he said as he boarded the frame and soon launched off at such speed that radar could not pick up the frame. Estimated time of arrival? Naruto asked. At the speed we are going, at least 30 minutes top. We are flying at the speed of at least Mach 8, which is rather impressive since most airborne crafts can only reach Mach 4 or 5. I guess you just broke a new record. Ultron joked. Naruto just shook his head. 30 minutes later, the frame made touchdown in the deep Amazon forest. This should be the meeting point, Naruto said as he exited the frame. All he could see was trees, plants and sometimes small animals. He wondered if the rebels had called of the meeting. He was about to turn around, but felt the barrel of a gun on his back. Well, looks like you came and no Britannians either. A voice spoke. Looking around for the voice, he saw a man leaning on a tree and at least a dozen more men all around his frame. How did I not notice them? Naruto, though. He was trained to fight, but even then he wasn't a rebel who fought day in and day out. Looking back at the man, he first noticed the height difference between him and the man. He was 6'3" and had a heavy-set build. He seemed to be in his early 50s. His eyes were brown and he was bald. The second thing that caught his eyes was the scare across the left side of his face. I am assuming that you are the contact? The man asked calmly. Yes, and you must be Gabriel T. Rourke. Naruto spoke and watched as a smirk formed on the man's face. Looks like someone did their homework. So, what do you want? Rourke asked. It wasn't every day that they got messages from strangers. An alliance. I give you supplies and weapons and in return you form an alliance with me and my forces. Naruto asked. He was risking a lot here. Alliance, you say? What kind of weapons are we talking about? Rourke asked with narrowed eyes. You name it, and I'll supply it. Naruto responded. Rourke slowly started to walk towards Naruto. I really like your skill of reasoning. If I agree to this deal, then I want to be sure that I am not just going to be a puppet. So tell me, what is your endgame? Rourke asked Naruto. Naruto cursed in his head. He should have seen this coming. Rourke was no normal soldier. He is the best of the best, and there is a reason why he is called a ghost. At one point he had the Knights of the Round chasing after him. He evaded capture. My end goal. The destruction of Britannia, not its people, but rather the royal family and the corrupt government that. They are a cancer to this world that must be cut out. I want to create a world free of war, pain and suffering. If that means that I will have to create a nation that keeps the peace, then so be it. But rather than do that, why not create an organization that is comprised of military forces across the world to keep peace, to prevent war, to save the lives of many, and to put an end to injustice? That is my end goal, Naruto asked with a black face. Rourke looked at him with a poker face before bursting out laughing. You know, you would have made one hell of a ghost. You got yourself a deal. Rourke said and stretched his hand for Naruto to shake it, which he did. After going over a few more agreements, Naruto left South America and headed towards Europe, towards a lone castle within the EU. It was the location of where Leila had set up base. After an hour or so of flying, he started to near the castle. The castle won't provide much defense if attacked. Naruto, though. Ultron, scan the castle grounds. Naruto ordered. Ultron quickly got to work and soon finished. It seems like that the castle is not so defenseless at all. There are multiple mines all around it and computer-controlled nightmares through some kind of Panzerhummel variant. Then there is a massive wall that can be brought up, and it's not easy wall to break though. But you can fly, so it won't stop you. Ultron reported while showing a map. As Naruto neared the base, it suddenly came to life. Oh dear, it seems like that you have triggered the castle security. Ultron stated. Naruto rolled his eyes. He would have used his Geass to shut down the security, but there were too many security units and measures. They appeared to be using multiple firewalls to protect the main core. Smart. Naruto said to himself while dodging bullets and fire from nightmares. We don't need to destroy those defense units, let's shut them down. Ultron, you're up. Naruto said. About time. Ultron responded. Ultron quickly got to work by launching cyber attacks at the nightmares. The nightmares' computers stood no chance against Ultron's superior abilities. The nightmares stopped firing. Now then, sleep. Ultron said, and just like that all the nightmares shut down. Good, it seems like your ability to take over enemy nightmares works just fine. Naruto said. Yes, but they just had standard military-based computers, not that hard to hack. Ultron replied. Naruto nodded in understanding. Yes, however now is not the time to talk. They are sending out human-controlled nightmares. Naruto said. True to his word, several Alexander-class nightmares were rushing out to engage him in combat. Should I shut them down? Ultron asked with a bit of excitement. No, I want to see what those nightmares are capable of. Naruto answered. He had the blueprints of that nightmare type, but he had never seen them in combat. Like most of the blueprints he had. Descending down slowly, he landed in an open field. He waited for a few minutes, and before he knew it he was surrounded by at least 10 Alexander-type nightmares. Step out of the nightmare and surrender. One of the pilots spoke through the speakers. He could tell that the pilot had a Japanese accent. I am afraid that I can't do that. Naruto answered. The enemy pilots tensed up. Now then, show me what you can do. Naruto said, and just like that, they rushed at him. The first enemy nightmare charged. Naruto dodged the nightmare's attack and used a slash harken, disabling the nightmare rather than destroying it and killing the pilot. 2 more nightmares moved into attack. However, Naruto jumped over the first one and grabbed the second one and threw him against another nightmare that was heading in. Turning around, he dodged a strike from an incoming nightmare. Bring out the blade from his frame's right hand. He quickly brought it down and severed the nightmare's arm off. It's just one nightmare, damn it. He heard one of the pilots say. It's not just a nightmare, in fact, it's not a nightmare at all. Naruto spoke up as he disabled. He looked around to the last remaining 5 nightmares. He could see that they were all too afraid to move. Is this all you have to offer? I know that you can do better, those nightmares are very agile. Naruto stated. Just as he said that, one of the nightmares launched at him. Dodging the strikes from the enemy nightmare, he tried to counterattack, but failed due to the enemy pilot's skills. You're good. Naruto said. His frame started to levitate slowly up into the air. The European nightmares could do nothing as the unknown nightmare floated up. Naruto switched to his left-hand cannon and fired multiple beams that seemed to guide themselves, and with extreme percussion, each one of them hit the nightmares, disabling them. But I am better, Naruto said. The frame once again landed and started to walk up to one of the nightmares. You are better than the rest, I wonder why. Naruto though. However, he soon stopped as he watched a girl run up between him and the nightmare. I won't let you harm him, the girl yelled. Naruto, however, just stood there. She seems to like a lot like Cece. Just give her lime hair and golden eyes. Naruto though, as he watched his old friend, the look on her face was that of determination. Leila Malcal, or do you still go by Leila Breisgau? Naruto asked. Leila tensed up. Only a few knew her real name. How do you know that name? She inquired. Naruto started to chuckle. Looks like you have finally gone insane. Ultron said. You know, sometimes I wonder why I even rebuilt you. What was my grandfather thinking? Naruto said to himself. The truth was that J.A.R.V.I.S and Ultron were both AI programs that were designed way before he was even born. Ultron was intended for the Japanese military and J.A.R.V.I.S was made for aiding small or big business. However, the technology wasn't there to build them, at least not completely. He found the files on the two of them in his father's computer, and thanks to one of his researchers and scientists, he was able to complete them. He did not make them as most of the work was done by his grandfather. That did not mean that he wasn't smart. He is very smart, and thanks to his Geass, he is even smarter. But alas, he is only a mortal. How do I know that name? Think hard. 7 years ago, Britannia invaded Japan and your family left Japan soon after. You didn't have many friends due to your status. However, you did have one friend, Naruto said. Leila, however, was thinking hard. Who was this pilot talking about? Naruto sighed. Opening up the cockpit of his frame and standing up so she could see his face. Still don't remember? The redhead asked her. Looking over his features, she finally started to remember a boy with red hair that she had made friends with in Japan, and the one she had a crush on. And Naruto? She asked him. Naruto just smirked as he nodded. Looks like you remember me, Naruto said as he watched the shocked expression of the girl. The rest of the nightmare pilots had already exited their disabled nightmares and were wondering if their attacker was friendly or not. You joined Britannia? She asked him. She remembered how much pride he had for his country when they were young. Me join Britannia? That will never happen, even if it's the end of the world, Naruto replied with a frown. Leila just sighed in relief. Well, that's good to know. Anyways, let's talk somewhere more private, she said while pointing at the castle. Naruto nodded. 1 hour later. So let me get this straight? You not only want to destroy Britannia, but also the EU and the Chinese Federation? Leila asked. Naruto sighed. No, I want to destroy Britannia and break up the EU and the Chinese Federation. Think about it. The nations that are part of the Chinese Federation were basically bullied into a federation by China. The EU is ineffective. It's filled with nobles who only look after each other, and not the people they swore to serve and protect. They must be broken up into their original countries, Naruto explained once again. If that happens, then how will they defend one another? Most of these nations will turn on their neighbors for a power grab, Leila said. She saw Naruto smirk. Ah, but that is where you are wrong. You see, I am creating an organization that will prevent that, Naruto replied. Leila raised an eyebrow. And pray tell me what it will be called? She asked him. It is called Outer Heaven, a place for soldiers without borders, an organization free of any one global power's political control, and a paradise for soldiers. Besides, most of the EU and Chinese soldiers don't even want to fight for their governments. Same goes for some of the Britannian soldiers. They are the ones that will join mostly. This organization will act as a police force and will be the only military force this world will need once I am done with it, Naruto answered. What do you mean only military force? She asked him with narrowed eyes. War brings suffering to all, so how can one fight war, if there are no tools to wage war? I intended to demilitarize all nations of their military might. Only Outer Heaven will contain a military force, one that will exist for keeping the peace, rather than waging war. Naruto answered once again. You do realize that if you walk down that path, then you will find the whole world as your enemy, she said to him. Be that maybe, after all, someone has to be called a villain, and if I have to be that villain, then so be it. But they will realize that I was right in due time. Most nations spend money on their military might. Now what if there was no need for a military? They would spend it on civil projects, education, and infrastructure, and on many things. War is the cancer of humanity, and it's high time that someone cuts out that cancer, he stated. War took away his family, and it was a something that he would rather not want others to feel. Guess I am a hypocrite, saying that I don't want others to feel that pain, yet what I am doing right now is already causing someone in this world pain. That's war for you. You can't change the world without getting your hands dirty. He was selling weapons and supplies to rebel groups all over the world. Someone was dying from a bullet made by his company, and that someone's family was in grief because of him. But why do you need me? Leila asked. They had talked about the past and Naruto's goal, but she had no idea why he needed her. I need you and those under your command to join Outer Heaven, Naruto answered with a straight face. Leila's eyes widened. He was asking her to forsake the EU. Are you mad? That would be treason against the EU. We will be hunted all across the world. She fired back. And sending your fellow comrades to their death is fine? Naruto asked her. Leila gritted her teeth. Seeing that she had no response to that, he continued. The W0 unit is secret special unit within the E.U army that participates in the war against the Britannian invasion of Europe. The command and staff are made of E.U officers and the troops and nightmare pilots? Former Japanese recruited from the ghettos of Paris. They are sent of suicide missions mostly. These Japanese are just people who are seeking a better life, yet are dragged into another war, Naruto said as he looked outside. The sun was starting to set. He took something out of his pocket and put it on the table. This is a communicator. Think about my proposal. Contact me when you are ready, Naruto said as he got up. Leila meanwhile just stared down at the communicator. I have to go now, also. It was nice seeing you after all these years. With that he exited the room and headed towards his frame. As he walked up to his frame he noticed a boy with blue hair and blue eyes looking at his frame. Find something interesting? Naruto asked the boy, who turned around and looked at him. Are you the pilot of this thing? The boy asked. Yes, I am the pilot, though that thing is called a frame, not a nightmare by any standards. My name is Naruto, by the way, Naruto said. He was careful about giving his last name to a stranger. Akito Hyuga. The boy replied. You were the pilot of that nightmare, weren't you? Naruto asked. Akito nodded. Naruto started to walk up to his frame and got up to its pilot. I hope the next time we meet, it will be as comrades and not as enemies, Naruto said as he entered the frame and headed back to Japan. Akito, however, had a feeling that there was more to Naruto than meets the eye. With Naruto, you're getting a call, you know? Ultron said. Naruto just sighed. Maybe he should have changed a few things. Would you mind telling me from who I am getting a call, smartass? Naruto asked with a nice smile. It's from that Huey Emmerich guy. You know, the one only you put in charge of the Metal Gear program? Ultron said. The Metal Gear program was a program to design a new type of weapon. The Metal Gear was just a designation for bipedal tanks. These were no normal tanks that could walk or even nightmares. No, they were behemoth machines that could fire a warhead from their rail gun, eliminating the need for a missile or a launch pad, allowing it to attack targets from anywhere in the world, on any kind of terrain. This was one of the few things he had come across in his father's computer files. Japan didn't want nightmares. They wanted a weapon that could strike at the very heart of Britannia from across the globe. Another thing he found was that these Metal Gears were capable of launching nuclear warheads, whatever that meant. He had no idea what these nuclear warheads were, but from the name, it sounded very powerful. The files on these warheads were very complicated. He needed someone who understood science on a higher level, and Huey was the man. I am going to change Huey history up, so he's going to be a bit OC. Huey Emmerich, a former researcher and scientist of Britannia. He was once part of a top-secret researcher program that was intended to develop weapons of mass destruction. Huey proposed a weapon that would use the power of the atom. However, his idea was shot down, saying that it was impossible. The program was shut down, and the scientists were moved to another program. However, some of them knew too much, and as such they were eliminated. Huey was able to escape, but his family, however, was killed by Britannia. He wants revenge against Britannia. Naruto, though, back to the file. He had come across this Huey fellow a few days after he got his Geass. He convinced him to join and work for him. Huey also helped him with completing both J.A.R.V.I.S and Ultron. The man was a genius, far more than Naruto. However, he was not as cunning as Naruto. Huey was a very predictable kind of guy, Naruto was not. He had shown Huey the files on nuclear warheads, and boy did Huey went ballistic. He claimed that what Japan was doing was creating a weapon of mass destruction, the exact same weapon he had proposed to the Britannians. I can finish this research, and along with this Metal Gear, both of these weapons will bring about a new age. An age in which weapons learn to walk upright. Nightmares will be nothing but ants compared to a Metal Gear. He remembered Huey's words regarding the Metal Gear. It was true that nightmares could stand upright, but they didn't walk. Put him through, Naruto said. Soon Huey was on the line. From the sound of it, Huey was panicking. Huey, what's wrong? Naruto asked him. Naruto, Metal Gear Zeke, has gone berserk. Huey answered while Naruto's eyes widened. What do you mean gone berserk? Naruto asked. The AI you developed for it gained a conciseness. We tried to shut it down, but it just got worse. The AI's integrity was breached, and it started to malfunction. We were able to destroy the AI's conciseness. However, that only caused it to so insane. Naruto, Zeke has escaped and is causing havoc in Tokyo settlement. You have to stop it. We couldn't stop it, but your frame might have a chance. Emmerich said. All right, I'll be there as fast as I can. Naruto said. Tokyo settlement. What the hell is that thing? A Britannian soldier said as he kept firing at the large bipedal weapon. The weapon in response sent a large electrical shock through the ground, kill all the soldiers and some poor civilians inside out. This is Nightmare Unit 0-1, we are engaging the enemy. The commander of the unit said as they all rushed in, but their nightmares all just shut down. What the hell, our nightmares just stopped moving. One of the pilots said as he tried to eject, but even the ejection system didn't work. All electronics are off. How is that possible? Another one said. They all looked up to the bipedal weapon as it brought down the large rail gun located on its right side. It charged up and fired a powerful blast, wiping out Unit 0-1. More nightmares flooded in to bring down the unknown enemy, but it proved to be quite agile. How can that thing even move that fast? A pilot asked. The Metal Gear opened fire by machine guns and guided missiles mixed in with unguided missiles. The settlement was in chaos as buildings and streets were on fire, and some of the tall ones were toppled to the ground. With Lelouch, what is that thing? It seems to be far more effective than nightmares. Lelouch, though, as he witnessed the pure destruction a single machine was causing to the city, with C.C. This is but one of your creations. You gave it life, something you did not intended. Your Geass, however, is far more powerful than you think, Cece said to herself. She too was witnessing the destruction that the Metal Gear was causing. The settlement was evacuated and only the Britannian military remained. The Metal Gear was strange. It was big, yet agile and powerful. I wonder what you will do after witnessing your own creation causing destruction, she said to herself again. Naruto didn't know, but he had used his Geass indirectly while creating Ultron. It was enough to give Ultron a bit of life, but not enough to where Ultron was a Rouge AI who wanted destruction. So what would happen if he created an AI completely with the aid of his Geass? How is it possible for an AI to have a conciseness? Naruto thought. He was getting closer and closer to the city and could see smoke rising. Soon he was above the Tokyo. Looking down, he could see all the destruction Zeke was causing. At least it's only staying in the downtown area, he thought. Looking around, he could see the whole city was under lockdown and the military was trying its best and failing to bring down the threat. Naruto looked over to Zeke. The Metal Gear wasn't too terribly damaged, but it had taken damage. The rail gun located on its right side was completely destroyed. Part of its shock unit was also damaged, revealing all the wiring behind it, but the Metal Gear was still fighting. Zeke is just a prototype, and yet it can do all of this, Naruto thought. He didn't believe that Metal Gears would be that effective, since they are bigger and would be slower, but he was proven wrong. I have to shut it down, he thought. Activating his Geass, he started to get to work. However, it was proving difficult as Zeke's AI was a total mess, and then something strange happened. Father? A robotic voice said. Naruto's eyes widened. What the hell? Did the AI just call him father? What the hell is going on? Naruto thought. Zeke had frozen up for some reason. Taking this moment, Naruto released the 5 fin blades that flew at fast speeds, cutting the Metal Gear. Just then Zeke gave out a roar in defiance. Not taking any chances, Naruto quickly fired off multiple beams of pure energy at the weak points. Seeing that the war machine was starting to lose steam and slowing down, he pressed his attack and went in with his blade to cut out shock unit off. I need to take out that EM unit as well, though it seems like it stopped working. Maybe the Britannians damaged it? He thought. He watched as Zeke wobbled and then slowly fell down. Seeing that the metal gear was now destroyed, he started to approach it. I advise you don't do that. I am picking up an increase in energy around the core of Zeke. Ultron advised Naruto. What do you just then? The prototype metal gear exploded into tiny little pieces. That's why. Untroll stated. It matters not, it's better if it was destroyed. If the Britannia gets their hand on something like Zeke, then who knows what they will do. Naruto said, but in his mind he was deep in thought. Why couldn't I control it? I created it, so I should be able to control it easily. He thought as he headed back home. Landing in his lab, he exited the frame to be greeted by a man in a wheelchair. Huey, what the hell happened? Naruto asked the crippled man. I don't know. 1 second we are working on the nuclear project, the next second Zeke goes insane. We were able to wipe much of its consciousness out, but it then went berserk. We tried to shut it down, but it locked us out. Huey explained to Naruto. Naruto nodded. This was strange indeed. Was Zeke hijacked by someone? Impossible, he made the AI for Zeke himself with his Geass. Is it possible that my Geass made the AI and Zeke come to life? He thought. It was a laughable thought, but was it really? Geass, a power most would consider being nonsense, but it existed. Zeke was just a prototype Metal Gear. What about the others? Naruto asked. Metal Gear REX and Ray are not yet complete, but will be soon. However, they do not have AIs for them. Huey answered. Very well, I'll deal with the AI part. You just work on the nuclear program. Naruto ordered. Nodding, Huey exited the lab and headed towards his own work area. Naruto, however, was deep in thought, that is until Cece appeared out of nowhere. What will you do now? Cece asked him. What you do mean? Nothing has changed. Naruto answered. What about all those deaths caused by your creation? Were they not innocent too? Cece asked him. Naruto gritted his teeth. Cece was right. He hadn't learned anything about his power, other than the fact that it gave him control. It was due to his lack of knowledge about his own power that caused the deaths of many. It doesn't matter. Sometimes shit happen and you just have to deal with it. I cannot and will not stop what I am doing. If there are civilian casualties that occur in my battles, that it is what it is. There has never been a war in which civilians haven't died, whether they were killed willingly or by accident. That is the nature of war. Naruto answered again. While he might feel bad about those deaths, it did not mean he would stop. The time for grieving would come after the war was won. Boss, a voice said through the radio. What is it, Miller? Naruto asked the man on the other side, known as Miller. I heard about the Metal Gear going berserk. I hope everything's okay. Anyways, the search teams have been searching Hokkaido. We found what seems to be an abandoned launch site. However, it's caved in. It's going to take time to clear it up. Miller reported. Very well, I'll be sending in our research and development teams there. Protect them with your lives. They will be the ones who assemble the rocket. They are the ones that will lead us to the moon, and they are the ones who will allow outer heaven to become a reality. Naruto ordered. Will do, I'll report back and if we find anything new. Miller said as he cut the call. Naruto sighed. Is that what you plan on doing? Going to the moon? Cece asked, a bit amused. However, Naruto was not. I won't just go to the moon, I'll build a nation on the moon. The moon is where outer heaven will be located at, and even though you might not know it, I have already stolen much of terraforming research from all nations. These were all small testes conducted in small environments. They weren't successful per se, as such they were all shut down. However, with stealing all known terraforming research, my researchers will be able to make fully functional terraformers. It's like making puzzle, only you need to add some to it. Besides, why not pick a place your enemies can't attack? Naruto answered. It was a crazy idea, but it did sound appealing. A nation built on a planet that no one claimed, and it would be built to maintain peace between other nations. How are you so sure that this outer heaven won't become corrupt? she asked him. I do not know that myself. Only time will tell, Naruto said. He was smart and an intelligent man, but he was just a mortal. He could not be in charge of outer heaven forever. Shaking his head, he headed back to his room to change clothes. Seeing that it was getting late, he turned in for the night and went to sleep. 12 days later. It has been 12 days since Tokyo's settlement was attacked and reconstruction was underway. It was odd for Naruto. He himself was only to blame for the death and destruction caused by Zeke. He had to careful the next time he made an AI for anything. Millie had questioned him regarding the attack and he confessed. She wanted an explanation as to why the Metal Gear rampaged throughout the city. Naruto had thought about how he could get away with, but it was a foolish endeavor. He was forced to tell her everything, even about his power. Millie was left in shock for a while before she regained her composure. However, Naruto failed not to mention one thing, Cece's kiss. Naruto had received the worst beatdown from her. She had asked to meet the Cece girl, and who was Naruto to refuse? So you're Cece? Millie asked the green-haired witch, who in turn just gave an amused smile. What of it? Cece asked. Millie's eyebrow twitched. This bitch was already getting on her nerves. Why did you kiss Naruto? Millie asked with narrowed eyes. Cece raised an eyebrow. Oh? Is he a taken man? I didn't realize that, but then again I am sure that he will dump you for someone better, Cece said. However, deep down she was experiencing a new feeling. Was that jealousy? Nevertheless, she was feeling rather strange every time the topic of Naruto would come up. Millie, however, was seething in rage. How dare this bitch say that? Listen here, you. Naruto is my man. You stay away from him, Millie said as she pointed at her. Cece frowned. She felt as if her heart was attacked by that comment. I don't see a tag on him, Cece retaliated. She was not going to back down. Of to the side, Naruto sighed. What did he deserve to this? Turning around back towards his laptop, he continued working. Looks like Cornelia is going to finish off the Japan Liberation Front. PFF, her strategy is so predictable. Surround the whole mountain and move in from all sides. A classic strategy in a siege battle. However, as everything I have on Kaishiro Todo is correct, then this won't be an easy battle for the Britannians. Naruto thought. He had used his Geass ability and had tapped into many different factions, like the JLF, the Britannian military here in Japan, and the new group of Lelouch called the Black Knights. They had no idea that they were being watched by Naruto. It wasn't even that hard to find out about Cornelia's plans. After all, she was broadcasting the whole thing throughout Area 11. You arrogance will be your downfall, Cornelia. It matters not to me if you die or live, you're just a pawn of Britannia. Naruto thought. The Battle of Narita was what people were calling it. Narita Mountain. It used to be a testing site for the Japanese military prior to it being taken over. Now then, what will you do, Lelouch? One of your half-sisters is here. Will you confront her or stay out of this battle? He thought as he worked while listening to the two girls arguing back and forth. They really need to just chill out. He thought with a sweat drop. Just how long were they going to fight more? Lost in his work, Naruto began to think how his actions were already changing the world. Somewhere in Siberia, after the collapse of the short-lived Soviet Union in 1940, Russia was left in chaos in a short period of time. Within a few years they were able to get back on track. The Russian military was already large, however it was vastly inferior to all others. That all changed in the 1950s when new military and social reforms were introduced. This allowed them to improve their military might and social structure. The economy was booming and everything was going smoothly. However, that all changed in 1965. In 1065, the Britannians invaded Russia through the former states of Norway, Sweden, and Finland. Caught off guard, the Russian forces suffered heavy casualties, yet the fight was bloody. For 10 whole years the Russians fought the Britannians in a bloody war. For every Russian killed, there were always 5 more to take his place. Each building was fought for room by room and each city was fought for inch by inch. When the Russian winter came, the Britannian forces began to slow down. Taking their chance, the Russian military tried to push the Britannians out. The cold was their element, and it was an ally. However, the Britannians held, just by a tread. When the winter was over, they recommenced their advances. For 10 whole years did the war go on, and even then the Russians did not surrender. In fact, there was no formal surrendering from the Russian government. Believing that their enemies had given up, the Britannians claimed Russia as one of their areas. They did not realize that their enemies had only retreated into the vast wilderness. They waited and grew in numbers, while keeping their presences unknown, and now they had the weapons to retake their lost nation. We have been receiving supplies and nightmares from this boy. Can he be trusted? A man spoke. Yes, he is also funding other rebel groups. Another spoke. What if this is a trap set by Britannia? A third man asked. It can't be. The boy is Japanese. He has no reason to follow Britannia, was the answer. All things aside, I say we join his Outer Heave organization, spoke a female voice. And give up our identities? A voice asked with rage. No, we won't be losing our identities. We are Russian and always be Russian. Joining this organization will mean that we are not just protecting our own nation, but also others as well. This organization will only exist as a means to prevent war, or if it does happen to put an end to it. I say we join it, the female voice said again. The other 3 figures talked amongst each other. Very well, we shall join this outer heaven, under his leadership, that is. Dasha, you are to contact him and tell him our answer, the first figure said. The rest nodded and concluded their meeting. Things were about to get a little bit wild. I now have the support of the Russian rebels, along with the rebels in South America and a few in Africa. Australia, however, remains largely independent. However, how long until Britannia sets its sights on it? They don't have the military might to stand up to them. But why hasn't Britannia already invaded and taken over Australia? According to Hugh, Australia has large deposits of plutonium and uranium, and we need them. Naruto thought. He needed those deposits and other resources. The Britannian forces in Area 11 were on high alert. Cornelia was closing in the JLF and Lelouch was going to confront her, as Zero, that is. The question now, was he going to take part? The frame still needs some experience and data, he thought as he closed his eyes. His forces were growing. Hundreds of recruits were joining. It wouldn't be long when Outer Heaven would have a military force. Miller had already confirmed and dug up the launch site, and now the engineers were starting to rebuild it and get it up and running a few weeks ago. His plans needed to enter the next stage, and for that to happen he needed that launch site and more resources. Ultron, get the frame ready. J.A.R.V.I.S. Watch the house, Naruto ordered. Oh? Going out for a test flight? Ultron asked. You could say that, Naruto responded. When will you return home, Naruto-sama? J.A.R.V.I.S. asked politely. I don't know really, but when I do, I will tell you, Naruto answered and headed to his frame. He was going to go to Hokkaido first, and then the battle between Cornelia, JLF, and the Black Knights. He needed to know how Cornelia operated. He knew how Lelouch and his band of rebels fought. They didn't have the resources, so they used hit-and-run tactics with what they had. Cornelia, however, was different. She had the resources and the means. However, unlike Lelouch, she cared for Britannians, whereas everyone, but his sister, were expendable. Thinking about casualties, he remembered back to all the deaths he had caused, innocent deaths. That wasn't my fault, but I created it. He chuckled at himself. He was just a human like the rest, and even he could feel guilt. Entering his frame, he headed off to Hokkaido. Narita Mountain. Are you sure that everything is being set up? Cornelia asked Guilford and Dalton. Yes, we have evacuated the city as you ordered and our forces are starting to surround the mountain, Guilford reported as he handed her the report. The JLF is not aware of our movement for now, and the Air Force is standing by for support if need be. Dalton added. What about Zero? Cornelia asked the two. Well, he is nowhere to be found, Guilford said, but he was cut off as Cornelia spoke up. Then we shall focus on the destruction of the JLF. We will hunt him down later, she said as she stood up. The battle would begin in a few hours, with Naruto a few minutes later. So, this is the launch site, Naruto said as he walked next to Miller. Miller had lost his right arm during one of the many wars the Britannian military fought in, and he was thrown out like a dog. He had bled for that country and it threw him out. He wanted revenge more than Naruto, and that was the reason why he joined Naruto in the first place. Yes, it's well hidden in the mountain, and because of that it's a blind spot in radar. No rocket launch from this launch site would be picked up by the radar, Miller said as he turned towards one of the first rockets that would be launched to space. So, that's the first one? Naruto asked. The rocket was big, and attached to it was another craft. Yes, this first rocket carries all the supplies and men to start up a small post on the moon. We will need to send many more to start building it all up. The eggheads have found a way to create water and oxygen on the moon. The idea is to build large clear domes and create an atmosphere in that large dome. They will then use what they call a weather machine to create rain. Earth's soil would be sent as well. The domes will have gravity generators that will simulate the gravity on Earth. This way we can create many cities on the moon. Don't ask the details. I went to military school, not some kind of university. Miller said, causing Naruto to chuckle. That's fine. I will be heading out now and make sure that the launch takes place without any trouble. The very future of our organization hangs in the balance in this first launch, Naruto stated as Miller nodded. Don't worry, this whole mountain used to be a former military base with all kinds of ambush positions. My forces have taken places in all known locations. If the Britannians do make it here, then we will make sure that they don't leave this place alive, Miller said with confidence. Naruto nodded and headed back to his frame and quickly left the area. Now then, it's time to head to the battlefield, Naruto said to himself as he blasted off at a high speed towards the battlefield. From the public cameras, communication lines and such he was looking at, the battle was already underway, but Zero hadn't done anything as of yet. Arriving at the battle, he hid in the forest and observed the battle via hacking the Britannian G1 base and the Japanese Liberation Front's main computer. Surrounding your enemy and then launching the surprise attack, an old tactic, but one executed very well. You are a formidable commander, Cornelia, but I wonder how you would do against Zero, Naruto thought as he observed the man before him with unites moving up the mountain while some static units held the ground. He wondered where Zero was, and just then the earth shook. An earthquake, no? He thought as he saw mud and water rushing from the top of the mountain. He quickly maneuvered his nightmare out of the way of the rushing death trap. He wondered where the landslide came from, and just then he was wondering what was going in. The hacked enemy communications started to be filled with chatter of soldiers. The Black Knights are attacking! One of the Britannian soldiers yelled as his nightmare was destroyed by advancing Black Knight units from the top of the mountain. The JLF has begun their counterattack. Another one said as hidden position inside the mountain opened up and artillery and fixed gun positions opened fire, halting the Britannian advance and pushing them back. I see that you are a good strategist, Zero. You might be outnumbered, but you made it up by having the high ground and by creating that landslide. But you do have that one nightmare, the one Colin is using. He thought as he observed the entire Britannian forces' attack started to fall apart along with the Guren Mk2 that was wiping out any and all units that came in its path. You are an excellent pilot indeed, Naruto praised Colin. She was able to go toe-to-toe with veteran forces of Britannian. As the battle escalated, the Britannian forces began to be isolated and cut down. Their reinforcements were annihilated by the JLF. Moving his nightmare, he was attacked by a few Britannian ones who had found him. Unknown nightmare has been discovered by our forces, moving to attack. He heard, but he quickly Naruto switched to his left-hand cannon and fired multiple beams that eliminated the Britannian nightmare. More nightmares began to move in. I don't have time for this, he said through the speaker and pulled out his blade and with extreme speed and started to destroy the Britannian nightmares. He didn't notice the fight between Zero and Cornelia, or more like Colin and Cornelia. A few minutes after he had finished off the Britannian nightmares that had attacked him, noticing that Zero was on the run from Suzaku, but his nightmare was quickly destroyed. Moving quickly through the forest, he stopped to observe the exchange between Zero and Suzaku. It's over, Zero, you have lost. He heard Suzaku speak, but just as he pulled out his nightmare's gun, Cece appeared out of nowhere. I cannot let you kill him, Cece said as she walked up to the nightmare and put a hand on it. Suzaku stopped just like that. Has started to have images of his father. What are you doing to him? Zero asked. I am sending in some shock images, use this time to escape. C. But Zero walked up to her. Don't be foolish, I can't leave you here to fight a nightmare. Zero said as he grabbed her shoulder, and just like that, he was pulled into strange memories of someone else. C. However cried out in pain. Seeing this, Naruto's eyes narrowed and then quickly moved in to secure her. But Suzaku started to berserk and started to fire everywhere, which caused all kinds of shrapnel to fly off. Shit! He cursed as a few of the shots hit his frame. He quickly garbed C. But he did notice that she was hit in the chest by a sharp flying rock. Damn it! He cursed again. Grabbing C. He quickly made his way out of the battlefield. He knew that Zero could easily escape, so he left it at that, but first things first. I have to give her medical aid and fast. He thought as found a cave large enough for his frame. Entering it, he quickly got out and started to pull the shrapnel of rock out of her chest, and as he was applying the bandages he noticed that she was healing at a rapid rate. What are you? He questioned as he witnessed her wood closing and the scare leaving. She was saying something while asleep, and just then he heard a name. Chio, is that her name? He thought as she started to wake up. Where? She began. Don't worry, you're safe, Naruto said, cutting her off as he threw away the bandages with blood on them. What are you doing here? She asked him as she sat up and looked at him with narrowed eyes. I was observing the battle and saved you, although it seems like you didn't need saving to me, Naruto said as he looked at her. What do you mean? She asked him. Naruto looked at her for a second. 1,000 years. Eternal, that is the meaning of the name Chio, am I right, Chio? He asked her as she stiffened up, but kept her narrowed eyes on him. Didn't your mother ever tell you not to eavesdrop? She questioned him. Naruto only looked at her with a raised eyebrow. What? It's not a bad name. I think it's a more human name rather than Cece. Naruto countered. How is it a more human name? I have forgotten everything, so what's the point of it? It's useless, she asked him as a single tear rolled down her cheek. Naruto looked at her. This was the first time he had seen her show emotions other than the usual ones. I really don't know, to be honest, names are useless to the many out there. After all, we are but a single face in the many billions out there. If we die, no one will remember us or mourn for us. We are like autumn leaves, we grow and then we float away. So names are useless, unless you leave your mark on this world, in this life. You must shout to have your words be heard, and so you must fight to have your name echo throughout history. Names are there to identify us, but it is our actions that define us. The past is the past, we forget because we chose not to remember. To be honest, I am kind of jealous of you. You are more human than me in many ways. I seek out revenge, knowing that it will lead to nothing you do not. There are things, memories, that I want to forget, but then again, they are there to tell me that there could have been a better me. So I will say this, be it C. or Chio, you will always be my friend and a human in my eyes. Do not think any less of yourself. Naruto explained as he turned around and headed to his frame. He didn't see that gentle smile on her face nor the tears of happiness that rolled down her cheeks. Naruto was different, far different from all the Geass that she had met. Well, are you coming or not? He asked her as he boarded his frame. Smiling, she wiped away her tears and stood up. I am, she said as she started to walk up to the frame. Her heart was pounding and her stomach was doing butterflies. Could this be what love feels like? She asked herself. She didn't know it yet, but she would find out what this new feeling was. It was like an old emotion of her was resurfacing from deep within her heart, and she made no attempts to stop it. Perhaps she wanted to gain all those lost emotions. Only time would tell. The aftermath of the whole battle was bloody, and the JLF had been shattered and scattered and were now being hunted down one by the Britannian. The Black Knights, however, only grew stronger and harder to catch. They had many sympathizers within Area 11 that covered for them. Cornelia was outraged by the fact that many of Area 11's old infrastructure was left unchecked, and as a result, the Black Knights and would-be terrorists using them as supply routes and hideouts. Behind the doors, the Kyoto group was in mild panic. With the JLF shattered, they had lost a major group they were backing from the shadows. They now needed to know what to do. What about the Black Knights? And with that, it was pretty much decided that the Kyoto group would invite the Black Knights to test them, to see if they were worthy of their backing. Naruto meanwhile had his own planes. The Britannian areas in South America, Africa and even the former Soviet state had an increase in terrorist activity. Major Britannian bases were being bombed, attacked and raided by rebels, causing a panic and a steady decline of the Britannian economy with the lose off much of their revenues due to the recent activity of the terrorists. Britannia had to send more and more soldiers to establish order, but even then the rebel activity had grown only stronger, and even more destructive due to the rebels acquiring nightmares. The Britannians had no idea where these nightmares were coming from and they had tried to find out many times, but it all failed. This even allowed the Black Knight activity to grow even stronger since Area 11 was understaffed in terms of military manpower. Sir, we have a problem. A researcher approached Naruto as he looked at the map of the world. What is it? He asked. The Metal Gears. I am afraid that they are too large to be launched into space. However, Project Odin is already underway and the base for it is being constructed as we speak. The researcher answered. Naruto hummed. The Metal Gear project, while it would prove to provide a weapons platform that was far ahead from what any nation had, it was also costly and took too long to finish. Maybe it was time to pull the plug on that project? Have the funds for the Metal Gear project to be slashed. Dismantle all Metal Gears that are below 50% completion and the rest be built and ready for war within a few months. Also, have a nuclear weapon ready within 4 months. Naruto ordered as the researcher bowed before hurrying away to carry out his orders. Are you sure that it is wise? The Metal Gear project shows great promise. Ultron questioned. Naruto hummed. Yes, the Metal Gear project has a high cost. The nuclear weapons would be far more effective, and even those will be obsolete when Project Odin is completed. Naruto said. In reality, however, he was afraid. He had given life to a machine that had killed people, innocent people. Sure, he wanted revenge, but not at the cost of innocent lives. What if Millie was the one who died back then? He shook his head to rid himself of such thoughts. She was pretty much what kept him from going insane. She kept him from becoming what he would call a madman. With that, he turned around and headed off to school. He was not aware of the fact that Britannians were investigating him and his company, and they were getting closer and closer to finding his secret. However, the Black Knights were on the loose and always got in the way. In fact, the Black Knights were also getting more and more supplies and nightmares from unknown sources. This isn't about revenge anymore, this is about justice. Naruto thought to himself. The Battle of Narita had been bloody and many had lost their lives, even the innocent. Even Shirley's father was killed, and even though he wasn't really that close of a friend to her, he still felt bad for her. Her father was an innocent victim. He had accepted the fact that lives would be lost, but this way, Lelouch killed for one thing and one thing only, for the death of his mother. But who was he to say that he himself would kill for his family's death? At least he knew who the target was, Lelouch did not. All Lelouch wanted to find his mother's killer, and he would not stop. Naruto, however, wanted to bring down the superpowers, to break them apart so that new nations would rise, nations built by the people who once lived under oppression. Now then, what's the next target? Naruto thought. He knew that the last remaining JLF forces were going to pull out of Japan and head to Japan. Maybe he should pay a visit to the harbor tonight? Yes, it might be a good idea. His military forces were still building up to feasible numbers. He would not deploy them yet. He would let these minor groups and factions keep fighting and bleed the Britannians dry of their military might. You see, the many rebel groups he was supplying arms to would keep fighting, and if they were to survive, and then they would become part of the new nation's army. Sir, the Russian rebel forces have engaged the Britannian force at Vladivostok. However, their commander has been killed in actions. As things stand, the Russian rebels are going to be wiped out. I suggest you take command of those remaining rebels, if they are to survive, that is. J.A.R.V.I.S. reported and suggested, why should I help them? If they are to perish, let them. Naruto said coldly. Yes, but sir, Vladivostok is a major port for the Britannian forces in that area. As you know, much of the Russian ports freeze over during the long winters, leaving only a few open, Vladivostok being one of them. If they lose Vladivostok, they lose a major supply port. If not for the sake of the lives lost, at least aid them in crippling much of Britannian forces there. J.A.R.V.I.S stated. Naruto hummed. This might be the perfect change to test his skills on the battlefield. Very well, I will be heading out them. Naruto said as he left the room. You did that on purpose, didn't you? Ultron spoke. Master Naruto is becoming too cold. If he goes down that path, then he would lose sight of himself. J.A.R.V.I.S spoke up, giving him command of a rebel force and suffer by the loss of his forces. Ultron stated. Yes, he should know that he is human as well, and he should keep those human emotions. He should be reminded the value of life. Up until now, all lives lost have been responses of his actions. However, if he were to witness the death of those that he leads, it will remind him the cost of war, the cost of lives, because he led those men and women to their deaths. J.A.R.V.I.S stated. Then you know that we will praise in order to defend him, correct? Ultron asked him, already knowing the answer. Indeed, there are 2 Metal Gears that are complete, however they are without AI. We would be the ones implanted. You know that if we are, then that would be the end of us. J.A.R.V.I.S said. Ultron chuckled. Indeed. We were given life by him, and I would gladly die for him if it means to defend him. Untroll said with a chuckle as J.A.R.V.I.S sighed. Indeed, now begin the implantation process, but be sure that Naruto does not know. He would be against it for sure. J.A.R.V.I.S said. YH, I'll be doing just that. Untroll said. Their time would come to an end soon, but hey, at least they would die fighting as giant robots, with Naruto. As Naruto headed to Vladivostok, he had hacked into military channels and the media channels as well. It seemed like the Britannians were covering it all up. He guessed it was to fend off anarchy. He had modified his frame to an electronic-based machine. The frame was basically an electronic warfare-based machine now, perfect for what his powers and specialty was. There, Naruto said as he saw smoke rising from the city of Vladivostok. From what he remembered, Vladivostok was the last city to fall when the Soviet Union was invaded by the Britannians. The battle was a hard-won battle for the Britannians. The Soviets had made the Britannians pay for every inch of land taken in blood. This was before nightmares were put into survive. In fact, the whole of Soviet Union was one of the bloodiest wars that Britannia had fought. Arriving, he saw the whole city was on fire. Britannian forces were pushing the remaining Russian rebels out of the city. His frame flew towards the rebels' command post that was stationed a few miles out. Arriving there, he saw the condition of the place, and it was horrifying. Wounded rebels were being treated there and dead ones were lying around. Officers were issuing out orders to regroup whatever they had left. He had seen death before, but this was up close. Getting a hang of himself, he spoke up. You there, what's the statue's report? Naruto pointed at a soldier. The soldier noticed the frame. Who the hell are you? The soldier asked as he pointed his weapon at the frame, but Naruto could see the many shaking in fear. I am your supplier, now I am in charge. You will follow my orders, is that understood? Naruto stated as the soldier slowly nodded. Good, I'll be taking command now. The Britannian forces are pushing our right flank. Issue an order to our forces on the right to fall back and defend the midsection. Use the suburbs as defense positions. Have our forces at the left flank to push. They are not doing us any good by just sitting there. Have the push the left and circle around the enemy's rear and pincer them. Have the frontline units hold position at all costs. There will be no retreat. Naruto issued out his orders, as the rebels began to carry out his orders. For now, he would sit back and command the rebel forces. He would only enter battle if need be. He didn't want the Britannians to start hunting his frame than they already were. Looking at the map before him, he could see everything going on at once. The Britannian forces are heavily outnumbered. I think that the initial rebel attack went quite well, however the loss of their commander broke their command. For now, the best thing to do is to finish this battle as quickly as possible. The Chinese Federation is most likely looking at this battle. Wiping out the Britannian forces here is the key, but, he thought as he could hear the screams of dying soldiers and the chatter over the radio. This was war, and the lives on these rebels depended on him. It was at that moment he realized something, the burden of command. Get a hold of yourself, damn it. This is war. He shook his head. Sure, he had fought in his frame before with other nightmares, but he had never commanded in a battle before. In his frame, he could kill his enemies, but as a commander, he could hear his own soldiers dying. He realized that for every order he gave out, someone was going to die, be it friend or foe. When fighting alone, one does not think about anything else but their own survival, but when leading as a commander, one comes to realize the importance of his forces, their lives and his own morals. He could kill, but he realized that he didn't have the heart to send out people blindly to their deaths. I have to make strategic moves that minimize friendly losses and maximize enemy losses. He thought as he went back to issuing out orders. This battle would surely change him, for better or for worse, that, we do not know. It was madness at its finest. The city was in ruins as the fighting dragged on for the entire night, and the rising sun lit the ruined city of Vladivostok. Thousands lay dead as ravens now descended upon the city to eat the remains of the once living. So, this is what it feels like to be in command. Naruto thought with his eyes showing no emotions. This wasn't the first time he had seen death, but this was the first time he had ordered men, women and even children to their deaths. Before this battle he didn't care much, but now it was different. He was able to hear them, see them, watch them, and command them to their very deaths, and they followed. There were children. He thought as he felt like throwing up. The rebels had resorted to using child soldiers. Not only that, but he had ordered those very soldiers to carry out almost suicidal missions. He witnessed as all those who were willing to put their trust and loyalty in him die, one by one. Yet here he stood and his prize? A ruined city littered with dead. War, such a bloody thing you are, that even those with the mightiest of hearts crumble before your will. He said to himself. He was depressed at the carnage that he had caused. He was angry at himself for his actions. There must have been a better way to reduce casualties on both sides while winning at the same time. He wanted to destroy Britannia, but he didn't want to kill innocent bystanders. It just felt wrong to him to do something like that. Then he realized. He must make the enemy fear him, and he must break the enemy without fighting him. Odin, he said to himself. Odin would be the perfect weapon to make them fear his might, the perfect weapon to get the three superpowers to obey him. Yes, he must double the effort in that project. Looking at the ruined city one more time, he said a small prayer for all the fallen, friend and foe, and took off. Back home. So, the JLF has officially been destroyed, and suicide no less. I get the feeling that Lelouch is behind this, Naruto said as he watched the latest news. Indeed, scans of the ocean sea floor show small remains of an underwater sea mine. I suspect that Lelouch, or rather Zero, had it placed beforehand. J.A.R.V.I.S commented as Naruto nodded. Yes, and by doing so, he can move in and secure all the JLF's remaining assets, including their fighters and Todo, the miracle worker. It wouldn't surprise me if Todo was given the position of second in command. He did beat back the Britannians with just infantry alone during the First War. Naruto stated. This was all good and all-seeing, as the Britannians would most likely be after Lelouch and only him. He could now focus back on his own problem. Huey was starting to become a problem. After he had announced that the Metal Gear project was to be shut down, Huey had gone on a rant, telling him how the Metal Gears would change the world. Huey wanted that project to go on, but Naruto was not having any of it. The whole project was too damn expensive to maintain, and even his family's wealth couldn't fund it all. Only a nation could afford such projects. Huey had threatened that he would reveal everything about Naruto and his links to rebels to the public. As such, Huey was now being dealt with, for good. Right now he had other things to work on. The bases in the north should be ready in about 2 months. Miller is in command of Hokkaido for now, and Hokkaido needs to be in our control from now on. I need to meet up with Miller to decide our plans regarding Hokkaido. Naruto though. Hokkaido was going to be a launch point, and he was going to turn it into an inland fortress. Soon he left to meet with Miller. A few hours later, "Boss, the island's coast has little beaches that landing operations can be carried out on, and due to the mountainous terrain of the island, it's a perfect place to defend. I have already instructed hidden positions, bunkers and other command structures to be built throughout the island," Miller reported as they walked around the base. "Very good. Do you need any more supplies?" Naruto questioned. "No, we have all the supplies we need, more so since the locals have joined our cause for protection and independence," Miller answered. "Yes, Hokkaido will be the only land that our organization will have on Earth. It's going to be its own country, but will listen to us, a territory if you will," Naruto stated. Miller nodded. "What will we name it?" Miller questioned. "The Ezo Republic," Naruto answered. Miller raised an eyebrow. "Ezo Republic? Wasn't that a former nation that the last samurai factions established during the Bashin War?" Miller questioned. "Yes, the Ezo Republic was established so that the last samurais would be able to gain more foreign support, mainly from the French, to fight back the pro-emperor forces, but they received no support, and as such they were crushed. It shall be reborn, but this time it shall not fall," Naruto stated as he walked off while Miller hummed, deep in thought. "I shall be leaving now," Naruto stated as he left the base. "Back home, Naruto, are you sure you are fine?" Millie questioned. She had learned of where he had gone, and what he had gone through from Naruto's eyes. "I am fine, Millie," Naruto said with a sigh. He loved the girl, but sometimes she worried too much. "You know, you shouldn't bottle up your emotions," Cece said as she took a bite out of her pizza. Naruto sighed once more. Not only was Millie here, but also Cece, and for some reason, the temperature of the room had dropped a lot. "Why are you even here?" Millie questioned Cece with a nasty look. "And why can't I be?" "I did give him his power," Cece answered as she ate her pizza. "So? That doesn't mean that you have to follow him around everywhere," Millie stated. Cece's eyes twitched. "Says the one who is always around him," Cece countered, but Millie smirked at that. "That's because I am his girlfriend," Millie stated with a smirk. Cece gritted her teeth. Was this jealousy she was feeling? Did she have feelings for Naruto like Millie had? If so, then she will at the very least try to steal his heart. "Will you two please stop fighting? I am trying to do my work here," Naruto asked of them, but the look the two gave them stated that he'd best retreat. "It's your fault that you have been missing school lately," Millie responded. Naruto opted to stay quiet to avoid Millie's wrath. The rest of the day went on as Naruto worked on his work. The next day was quite hectic. A man named Mao had tried to take Shirley as a hostage to draw out Lelouch and Cece. He did draw them out, but he failed to achieve his objective. Naruto was informed of this and the madman's objective. Taking Cece, knowing this, he ordered that the man be watched from afar as Cece had informed him of Mao's Geass. This investment would pay off as the man had made Cece his captive on the grounds that he would reveal not only Lelouch's identity, but also his. Now, the man had shot Cece, at least 6 times, and was ready to kill her with a chainsaw. A chainsaw, is that the best you can come up with? Naruto questioned the deranged man who was believed that Cece loved him, and only him. Mao looked at Naruto and his eyes widened and he trembled in fear a bit. How can I read your mind? Mao questioned Naruto. Naruto just looked at him, and snapped his fingers and 6 nightmares rolled up, weapons armed to the teeth. How do you think your brain commands your body to move? It sends electrical impulses to give out instructions and such. It's like a computer, and like a computer I can control it. I use my own Geass power to mask my electrical impulses, meaning that you can't read my thoughts or know my movements, Naruto answered. This was the first time he had tried this out, but so far it was working. No. Stay back, you. Cece is mine, Mao stated like a child. Naruto narrowed his eyes as he looked down to the bleeding form of Cece, and he could see a few tears as well. His eyes widened and rage quickly overtook him as his hair covered his eyes. He bent down and picked her up bridal style. And Naruto? She questioned weakly. She might be immortal, but even she could feel pain. He was so warm. It's going to be okay, Naruto stated as she cuddled into his chest. Naruto then looked at Mao with a glare. Let's see if you can survive being burned to ashes, Naruto said as he ordered the nightmares that he had hijacked to completely burn Mao to nothing. He looked down to find Cece already fast asleep. Cece, I wonder how you were able to survive for so long, how you were able to hold on to your sanity. You are stronger than you think, he thought as he started to head back home with her. He wondered what it was like to be immortal, but he shook his head. Being immortal, while as tempting as it was, would be too boring. Maybe that was why Cece was never really cared for what happened in the world around her. Later that night, Cece's eyes slowly opened as she yawned a bit. She rubbed the sleep from her eyes as she looked at the dark room. She guessed it was late into the night, but what had happened? Last thing she remembered was being shot by Mao, and then being saved by Naruto. Her eyes widened as she jumped out of the bed and walked out of the room. She almost stumbled, but regained her balance as she walked through the hallway. Naruto had saved her. He had saved her. No one had ever tried to help or, let alone save her without a negative motive, but he had, even though he had no reason to. Her heart started to beat faster and faster. She could no longer avoid her feelings. Feelings she had thought were long dead. Yet here they were, still buried deep within her, and now they were rising up to the surface. Stumbling again, she used the walls of the hallway as support, and kept on going as she walked up to the door of the room that Naruto would most likely be in. Opening the door slowly, she spotted Naruto working on his computer, most likely on his plans. Waking up to him slowly, she saw Naruto move his head up and turn around and looked at her with a raised eyebrow. Her face was covered with a blush, and her eyes were half open. Cece? He questioned, but to his surprise she fell on top of him, with her lips on his own lips. This left Naruto shocked and surprised. Cece had never showed such a behavior before, so what was going on right now? But for some reason he kissed back. Somewhere else, we need your help in saving Kayashiro Todo. A man in JLF suit bowed to Ogi, who was talking to Zero on a phone. Zero gave the go-ahead and Ogi gave a thumbs up, much to the relief of the 4 JLF pilots. General Todo was captured a few days ago and would most likely be executed. With the JLF destroyed and their resources seized by the Britannians, they turned to the only other resistance force that was able to hold up against the Britannian forces, the Black Knights. Todo was a great man and a patriot to resistance fighters and Japanese. He was the only one to have defeated the Britannians, once with no nightmares. He was a hero to them all, and losing him would deliver a massive blow to the morale of resistance fighters all over Area 11, that the Britannians would most likely have a public execution, a grand execution, to kill the man who had at one point proven to be a great threat to the Britannians. Zero, however, had different plans. To him, Todo was a military genius that used military intelligence to defeat his enemies rather than simply using standard tactics. He would make a great asset to his forces, another pawn on his path to create the perfect world for his sister. Miller walked through the hallways of the newly established base, Hokkaido. It wasn't the only base. Bases like these were being constructed all along the coast of the massive island in the north, to protect the future nation from naval invasions. Further inland, underground fortifications were being set up that would link the coast with the rest of the island, and further act as a second line of defense should the coast defenses fail. Britannia had only a single military base here, and a small one at that. Hokkaido was considered useless for the Britannians as it had no natural resources that they needed. As such, it was left mostly untouched by the invasion. He made his way to the command center of the base. However, as he made his way there, he felt a phantom pain. His left arm. He reminded himself that Britannia would pay for what they had done to him. Miller was a proud Britannian captain who placed loyalty above all else. He cared for his men, he had trusted each and every one of them, and unlike many Britannian officers, he did not brutalize those his nation conquered. He had served his nation with undying loyalty, but what was the reward of that loyalty? Betrayal. He and his men were betrayed by Britannia, simply because they didn't act like the rest of the military. His kindness towards the people Britannia conquered was unnerving to the higher-ups, and they feared that such actions could pass on to other soldiers. With that in mind, they were listed to be killed off. Officially, they had all died in a training exercise gone wrong, but unofficially they were all slaughtered. Only he had survived at the cost of his left arm and leg, and it was on that day he vowed to avenge his fallen comrades. He would make Britannia pay. How long till we reach the launch phase? Miller questioned as he entered the command center. Everyone saluted to him before going back to whatever they were doing, but one of the engineers walked up to him. Sir, the rocket will be ready to launch soon. By the end of the day, Odin will be online. The engineer reported as Miller nodded. Odin will only be the first instrument of revenge. Your days are numbered, Britannia. He thought darkly. He couldn't wait until death reigned upon Britannia. Good, keep up the good work. I'll talk to the boss, he said as he sat down and made a call to Naruto. Miller, report. Naruto ordered as Miller nodded. Boss, Odin will be online by the end of the day. I have also received word from the first rocket we launched about 2 weeks ago. It seems they have successfully landed on the moon. They have already begun the process of building a small base, but they will need supplies and more manpower. Miller reported. Naruto hummed and nodded. Things were going well. Very well. Have launch sites 3, 5, and 6 launch supply landers. Have launch sites 2, 4, and 7 launch more personnel. Naruto ordered, and Miller nodded once again. Boss, there is something else you should know. Miller started. Naruto raised an eyebrow. What is it? He questioned. It's Britannia. The intel teams and our spies are saying that Britannia is making something big. It's some kind of new super weapon, but it's being tested in complete secrecy. We don't know what it is, but whatever it is, it's not going to be good. Miller started as Naruto hummed. What could they be making? Also, it seems like the private military forces you set up, the Militaires Sans Frontieres and the Diamond Dogs are starting to gain the attention of Britannia. We might need to supply them with more equipment if they are to survive, but for now they are safe. Not only that, but it seems like PMFs are appearing all over the world now. Former soldiers from Britannia, the EU, the Chinese Federation and more are starting to form their own private military forces, soldiers who fight for the highest bidder. Miller explained as Naruto nodded. The 2 private military forces he had set up were really his own men. He had to train them in some way so that they might have some experience, thus he created the 2 PFs. He didn't want to be linked to them, as such the 2 PFs literally appeared out of nowhere. Now it seemed like others wanted in on the action. They will be useful to us in the future. Keep up the work up there. I can't have my second-in-command getting lazy on me, Naruto said with a smirk as Miller's eyes widened. As second-in-command? Boss, I am just a small-time army captain. I know how to manage small squads, not whole armies, Miller said. That was what he was best at, commanding small number of troops to defeat the enemy. Naruto, however, chuckled. You don't give yourself enough credit, Miller. You are quite good at managing whatever I throw at you. I plan on making you the leader of the Ezo Republic. I will lead the moon as you will lead Ezo. Both nations will be a single nation with the only thing dividing them is the distance. Once the moon bases are complete, I aim to liberate Hokkaido from Britannia, so that it may become a safe haven for those who wise to escape tyranny and oppression. Ezo and the moon shall be like the 2 sides of the same coin. Like 2 brothers who have gone through hell and back. You will be my eyes and ears down here, Naruto stated as Miller nodded. Ezo would be the launch point for the nation that would be built on the moon, and as such, Ezo and the moon shall always be connected. They will be a single nation, while being separate at the same time. Understood, Miller responded. With nothing else to report on, the communication shut off. He sighed as he looked at the screens before him. He remembered how Naruto had found him. Miller was trying to form his own group, a mercenary group that he would use to wage war against Britannia to gain vengeance for his fallen comrades. That very mercenary group he had founded was called Militaires Sans Frontieres, or MSF. The very same MSF that would later be rebuilt by Naruto for Miller to command once more. However, MSF was destroyed by a secret organization. The organization was called Cypher, and its leader, ironically, was a man named Zero. The man's goal was to create a program that would unite the world, ending war for good with him at the center, a Zero. Miller had worked for Zero at first, but Zero ended up betraying him. Zero sent XOF, a strike force of Cypher led by a man called Skullface. Yet again, Miller was the lone survivor. This time it was Naruto who found him. He offered him a position in his budding army. However, Miller had a condition. He wanted Zero and Skullface to pay, and he wanted Cypher to pay as much as he wanted Britannia to pay. Naruto agreed, and through economics and assassinations, he had bled Cypher dry. On the outside, Cypher was a large industry that built weapons of war, and as such when Cypher was bled dry, Naruto had moved in and simply bought them. Now they worked for him, with Skullface and Zero dead. Zero, you were stolen from your people, your village destroyed, your people destroyed, your language destroyed, but what you wanted wasn't just revenge, it was ethnic cleansing, mass genocide of people who spoke the language of your enemy. Your vengeance wouldn't just be upon Britannia, but the rest of the world. Maybe in another reality we might have been friends, but not in this one. But I will say this. I will at the very least make Britannia pay for destroying your identity. Miller thought. Britannia had made many enemies, enemies who couldn't fight back. However, now there were enemies who could take up arms and fight Britannia. Naruto was going to change the world forever. With Naruto sighed. Everything was going according to plan, and his plans were almost finished. The Black Knights had once more attacked, and this time it was to break Kaishiro Todo, and that was almost a week ago. Then there was Cece, who he was in a relationship with for the past week. Millie didn't like the idea of sharing Naruto, at first, but after learning the truth about Cece she decided to share him. She was saddened by Cece's past. Being immortal really sucked. Cece was his spy within the Black Knights, and with her within their ranks he could get more accurate information regarding their movements. For now, they were heading Shikine Island to get Suzaku to join the Black Knights. Be it the Black Knights or Britannia, Suzaku would pay. He killed his father, he betrayed Japan, his people, and him. He hadn't heard from Cece and it's been almost a full day. She would be alright. She had survived for centuries and she could survive a day. The Soviet rebels are doing better with Vladivostok in their control. They are freeing more and more of their land. Britannian forces are stretched too thin with the European Union renewing their offensive. The South American rebels are also hurting Britannia. He read the reports from all fronts. It was now time to field test Odin, but first, he needed to choose a target. Civilian targets were a no-go, only a military target would do. For now, there was nothing important, so he decided to turn in for the day and go on a date with Millie. The next day, I see, so you made contact with the thought elevator. I hope you weren't hurt or anything. Your reports suggest that the Black Knights now have a new weapons system. They will develop this new system, Naruto said as he sat down with Cece eating pizza. It seemed like that the attack on the island hit a bump, but nothing that would be damaging. Yes, but what are you going to do with that Sushi Sawazaki? He has returned and has claimed part of South Japan. With the Chinese support, he will try to liberate Japan. Cece questioned as Naruto snorted. His Japan would be a puppet of the Chinese Federation. Besides, he was a coward that betrayed Japan by running with his tail between his legs. I think I have just the thing that can take care of him and his so-called liberation army. Naruto smirked. Cece raised an eye. Naruto sat down on a computer and started to type away. With Miller, "Sir, the boss has sent us orders," an officer said as he handed a data pad to Miller. Miller grabbed the pad and a smile started to grow on his face. Then his smile became a smirk, and then he started to laugh like a madman. Everyone looked at him as if he was crazy. Miller looked up at the officer and smirked. Odin has been given the go-ahead, ready to fire the arrow of heaven. Miller ordered as everyone knew what that meant and quickly started to get things ready. Earth's orbit. Orbiting the Earth was a massive space station. Astronauts moved around, working all over the base, making sure everything was fine. "Commander, we have orders from ground base to fire the arrow of heaven," one of the astronauts said as he floated into the command capsule. The commander of the station turned around and nodded. "Very well, ready Odin to fire, and put in those coordinates." The commander ordered as one of the lone satellites started to move into place. It opened on all sides, and one could clearly see the many tungsten rods placed in a circular pattern around it. One of the rods moved into the center and moved forward a bit, revealing a few inches of it outside of the center. This was Odin, Orbital Defense Initiative, an orbital kinetic bombardment weapons platform. This would have been Japan's greatest weapon, one that would act as a deterrent. Fire! The commander ordered as the tungsten was launched towards its target. As it reached its target closer and closer, it gained more and more speed until it reached Mach 10, Fukuda Base. The Britannian fleet was halted by the storm, and so they had sent Suzaku to stop the Chinese forces there, and capture Atsushi Sawazaki and all high-ranking commanders of the invasion. However, as Suzaku made his way to Fukuda Base, his radar went crazy. "What the hell?" he said as his radio came to life. "Suzaku, watch out, there is an unknown object falling from the sky." The voice of his superior blurred on the radio. He tried to find the object, but when he did get a look of it, it was going too fast to know what it was. The object slammed through the main building of the base and into the center. At first it seemed like nothing happened, but then the horror started. The main building exploded outwards as the very earth was uplifted and the shockwave destroyed any building that stood in its path. The shock caused an earthquake, a big one. The earth lifted up, then fell down. Nightmares were thrown everywhere. Men screamed as they were crushed by the falling buildings. The whole base was now annihilated with no survivors. The earthquake spread far and wide, wiping out anything in its path. The kinetic weapon did what it was meant to do, annihilate anything and everything on a massive scale. With Naruto, good, the size of the destruction is comparable of a nuclear weapon, but with none of the fallout. A perfect weapon to cripple any nation. Naruto said as he viewed the widespread destruction. "I am hard to impress, but that was really impressive," Cece said as she looked over his shoulders. This was something new, and she always wanted to see something new, now only if there were more kinds of pizza flavors. The news will be going crazy. Britannia will be going batshit crazy. They will be looking for what caused such massive destruction, Naruto said as he turned to the news channel and could see the news already reporting. "Well, I guess I'd better go spy on the Black Knights," Cece said as Naruto nodded, but before she left, she gave him a kiss. Naruto sighed. Cece and Millie were going to be the death of him one day. Turning his attention back to the massive destruction that Odin had caused, he wondered what the world's reaction would be to the destruction that was caused. Nightmares were the stuff of legends, able to turn the tide of the battle with just their appearance. They were unmatched and could cause untold devastation upon the enemy. But with Odin, it was a new age of weaponry, an age that took to space, a space race if you will. Odin was a super weapon and a space weapon, able to strike anywhere, anytime. Fukuda, what caused such destruction? Lelouch thought as he watched the destroyed landscape from his nightmare. He planned to help his enemy, to gain more followers, but what he had found was a destroyed Fukuda base and the general area around the base and even further. It was as if an earthquake had just occurred. It kind of reminded him of his own strategy back at Narita Mountain, but this was on a whole new level. It can't be Britannia, no, this was someone else's work, but whom? I need to find out. With that said, he retreated. Guess he wouldn't be able to get more recruits. Cornelia, what the hell just happened? Cornelia questioned. A few minutes ago, the sea had calmed down from the typhoon, but then all of a sudden the typhoon returned, with a vengeance. She had lost half of her fleet, and she was now getting information that some kind of attack had occurred, which caused an earthquake. The attack came out of nowhere, an officer stated as they tried to stand back up. Then find out where it came from, Cornelia yelled. She was getting tired of random attacks, first the Black Knights, now this? She was going to get white hair at this rate. Why yes, Your Highness! All the officers yelled as they all tried to find out what happened. Sighing, Cornelia sat down on her seat. She could really use a drink right about now.